Chapter 830, Variable. Chapter 830, Variable. At this moment, none of the demons dared to underestimate the situation any longer. They could not win in melee combat. Their dermic weapons were useless. They had lost in a fight with dermic arts. There were already 5 mid-level fiend demons that had died in the hands of this man at this point of the battle. Even if he was a low-level fiend demon, nobody dared to underestimate him any longer. Solitary Cloud was enraged and was still indignant. As a pure-blooded ferocious beast, his bloodline was noble and strong and even contained a trickle of the dragon race's bloodline. Furthermore, he was a full major cultivation realm above this man. How could he possibly lose when he was joining forces with others? Even if they had to drag on the fight, they could defeat this man in a combined war of attrition. Kill. Solitary Cloud opened his mouth and a current surged forward. The moment the stream of water arrived in midair, it transformed into the shape of a WIRM. The WIRM soared through the clouds, snarling with sharp fangs, charging violently towards Suzimo as though it could feel its master's wrath. Puny WIRM snake. Break it. Suzimo had a calm expression as he shouted while conjuring hand seals with his hands once again. Lightning bolts curved, extended and shrank between his arms. There were crackling sounds and a gigantic shield was formed between his hands, standing right in front of him. It was a dermic art from the Purple Thunder Manual, the Purple Thunder Shield. The gigantic Purple Thunder Shield was created from lightning bolts completely and absorbed the power of thunder from the thunder clouds endlessly, sparkling with a blinding dazzle. Boom! The WIRM collided fiercely against the Purple Thunder Shield and created a loud bang. The Purple Thunder Shield dissipated. The WIRM Solitary Cloud conjured dispersed as well. Suzimo made use of the rebound momentum from the collision and bolted in reverse, arriving in front of another mid-level fiend demon instantly. The mid-level fiend demon had just escaped from the purple thunderstorm. Before he could catch a breath, his vision darkened and a massive palm descended upon him. The person's mouth went agape, and he had a startled expression. He had just escaped from death and was injured from head to toe. As such, his reaction time was already slower. There was no way he would have expected Suzimo to arrive right in front of him when the latter was just fighting the Territorial Lord of Ghastly River a moment earlier. That single moment of lag cost him his life. Piak. Suzimo's palm landed on the person's head. The person's skull shattered instantly. The essence spirit in his spirit consciousness was destroyed on the spot, devastated by a tremendous amount of power. Another mid-level fiend demon was dead. In the blink of an eye, there were only 8 mid-level fiend demons left, including the Territorial Lords of Cyclone Cave and Black Sand Ridge. M.O. M.O. The demons of Howling Moon Mountain cheered as they shouted the name of their Territorial Lord. Solitary Cloud's expression was terrible. He had failed time and again. Not only did he fail to kill Suzimo with his dermic art, the latter even made use of the rebound to kill another mid-level fiend demon. He was thoroughly enraged right now. Finally, the Territorial Lords of Cyclone Cave and Black Sand Ridge noticed something amiss. If this continued, the mid-level fiend demons under their lead would die while the Territorial Lord of Howling Moon Mountain was fine and dandy. Apart from the 3 Territorial Lords, the other 6 mid-level fiend demons had hints of fear and panic in their eyes. There was a chance that the 6 fiend demons were going to flee if the 3 of them did not do something soon. The Territorial Lords of Black Sand Ridge and Cyclone Cave exchanged glances and, with a tacit understanding, abandoned their pursuit of Black Wolf and Chanrui and turned towards Suzimo. Black Wolf and Chanrui were thoroughly exhausted and were of no threat. Right now, the most pressing matter was to kill the Territorial Lord of Howling Moon Mountain to boost the morale of their army. All of a sudden, the demons noticed that right now, Suzimo no longer had scarlet hair. Instead, his hair was completely black. The demons merely frowned slightly and did not think too much about it. Even if they racked their brains, none of them would be able to imagine that there was an earth-shaking secret of 2 essence spirits behind the change in his hair color. Although Purple Thunderstorm and Purple Thundershield were both dermic arts of human cultivators, demonic chi rumbled around Suzimo, and the demons could not differentiate when his dermic arts were released. In the blink of an eye, the 3 territorial lords and 6 fiend demons occupied different directions and encircled Suzimo. All of them had cold, murderous gazes. It was as though all 9 fiend demons had the same thoughts. I have to admit that you're indeed qualified to be my opponent. Solitary Cloud said in a deep voice, "Mo, aren't you going to revert to your true form?" Suzimo smiled indifferently. "You're not qualified to see my true form." "I'm not qualified." Solitary Cloud was so furious that he broke into laughter instead. "You truly don't know that you're on the brink of death." Tisk, TSK, TSK. The Territorial Lord of Cyclone Cave laughed sinisterly. "Junior, I don't care what your true form is. Even if you're a pure-blooded ferocious beast, you're not going to get another chance. Lowlife, join my child in hell." The Territorial Lord of Black Sand Ridge hollered. The moment he said that, bright glows shone from the glabellas of the 9 fiend demons. One after another, frightening spirit consciousness fluctuations spread through the voids with a rampant might. Against the envelopment of the spirit consciousness, the demons fighting below stopped. All of them shivered in fear. Some of the cowardly ones even sprawled on the ground motionlessly. If they were struck by any of the spirit consciousnesses, they would die immediately without any chance of escape. In the cultivation world, there was the saying that life and death was determined by a single thought. In truth, that statement meant that powerful cultivators could kill their opponents instantly with a single thought using their spirit consciousnesses. Territorial Lord, watch out. Those are Essence Spirit secret skills. Black Wolf was shocked when he saw that and reminded hurriedly. Fights between Essence Spirits were the most dangerous. Even among mid-level fiend demons, they would not release their Essence Spirit secret skills casually. First, there was no guarantee of victory in a fight between Essence Spirits. Even if they did win, it would be an immense loss if their Essence Spirits were injured because of it. Essence Spirits were way harder to heal compared to the physical body if they were injured. There were many medicinal herbs meant for external and internal injuries. If the physical body was injured, it would recover completely within a couple of years at most. However, there were extremely few medicinal herbs that could be used to heal the Essence Spirit. If an Essence Spirit was injured, some people may not be able to heal it even if they spent their entire lives, let alone a couple of years. Their cultivations would even be implicated because of that. It was extremely common for one's cultivation realm to be stuck because of that. That was the reason why neither Black Sand Ridge nor Cyclone Cave chose to fight a war of attrition instead of fighting with their Essence Spirits right from the start despite their advantage. The outcome was as they had expected as well. Black Wolf and Chan Rui's dermic powers were depleted and their Essence Spirits took a huge toll. Even if they wanted to fight to the death with their Essence Spirit secret skills, they did not have the strength to do so. However, a variable happened. This variable was so great that it turned the tides of the entire battle. They became the passive parties. Right now, they were forced to use their Essence Spirit secret skills even. The Territorial Lords of Black Sand Ridge and Cyclone Cave stood high and above as they glared down at Suzimo coldly. Their gazes seemed as though they were looking at a dead man. By this point of the battle, they had already deduced that although Suzimo was a low-level fiend demon, his bloodline was definitely unusual and his Essence Spirit was strong. However, no matter how strong his Essence Spirit was, there was no way he could defend against Spirit Consciousness attacks and Essence Spirit secret skills. Furthermore, 9 mid-level fiend demons were attacking at the same time. No matter how much of a variable he created, he was going to be killed. Solitary Cloud looked at Suzimo with a conflicted expression. In truth, within the depths of his heart, he still had the idea of suppressing Suzimo with his own strength. He wanted to subdue the latter as his mount. He could even take the treasure of the dragon race in this man's possession for himself. However, that wish was probably dashed by this point. This man would definitely die from the Essence Spirit secret skills. If he wanted to snatch away the treasure of the dragon race, he might even have to undergo a bitter battle with Black Sand Ridge and Cyclone Cave. Chapter 831, Essence Spirit Fight. Chapter 831, Essence Spirit Fight. Suzimo stood in midair with a grim expression. Indeed, this was the most dangerous moment for him. His bloodline was frightening, and his physique was strong. Even the dermic arts that he cultivated were top-tier, and were heaven-grade cultivation techniques from the immortal and Buddhist Das. However, no matter how strong his bloodline and physique were, they could not withstand the power of essence spirits. The physical body would not be wounded by a spirit consciousness attack. It was a lethal move that was targeted right at the essence spirit. Only an essence spirit can defend itself in a fight between essence spirits. There were also some extremely rare essence spirit dermic weapons that could do the job. Furthermore, Suzimo was only at early-stage nascent soul. Even if his two essence spirits were to fuse, he could not compare to the essence spirits of 9 fiend demons. Suzimo knew that the crisis of Howling Moon Mountain would only be truly resolved if he could tide through this predicament. In this moment of exceptional danger, Suzimo did something out of the blue. He closed his eyes all of a sudden. All the demons were in an uproar. To them, Suzimo's actions were akin to giving up. He was surrendering and awaiting death. What the demons did not know was that Suzimo had not only closed his eyes, he had even restricted his 6 senses. At this moment, his mind calmed down. It was as though he had entered a state where he was communicating with the universe, and his physical body had vanished entirely. Suzimo relied on his spirit perception entirely to sense everything in his surroundings. Through his senses, the 9 spirit consciousness attacks took on various forms. There was a WYRM, a scorpion, a bloodbat, and everything came instantly from different directions. Among them, 4 spirit consciousnesses were clearly stronger than the rest. Suzimo realized that the 4 spirit consciousness attacks were triggered using essence spirit secret skills. The other 5 were ordinary spirit consciousness attacks. Within his spirit consciousness, the scarlet-haired Een spirit stood and approached the black-haired essence spirit before fusing with the latter. The only way to defend against this terrifying attack was through the fusion of the 2 essence spirits. At the same time, a series of bedazzling golden glows extended through Suzimo's left wrist with a single thought from him. They shone in a divinely light and formed an indestructible barrier around his body. The barrier could not defend against the lethality of dermic arts and weapons. However, it could defend against spirit consciousness attacks. Hum, hum, hum. Almost at the same time, 9 spirit consciousness attacks struck the golden barrier. Ripples surfaced one after another on the barrier, resembling a water surface. The 5 ordinary spirit consciousness attacks were stopped. However, the other 4 that contained the power of essence spirit secret skills smashed onto the golden barrier and created ripples that extended rapidly. The golden barrier came from the Mingwang prayer beads. The Mingwang prayer beads was the treasure that supported Daming Monastery's foundation. This was naturally not the extent of its true power. However, the Mingwang prayer beads on Suzimo's left wrist right now was a damaged dermic weapon. Furthermore, Suzimo was restricted by his cultivation realm and was unable to refine this dermic weapon properly. As such, he was only able to utilize 30% of its power at best. Boom! In the blink of an eye, the golden barrier shattered. The Mingwang prayer beads went dim. The 4 spirit consciousnesses surged right into Suzimo's body and barged into his spirit consciousness, resembling feral, hungry beasts. Among them were the spirit consciousnesses of the Black Sand Ridge, Cyclone Cave, and Ghastly River Territorial Lords. The 2 essence spirits were already fused completely within his spirit consciousness. On the Green Lotus platform, a brand new essence spirit sat in a lotus position. He had a cold expression and his hair was split in the middle, scarlet and black, while his left eye was bloodshot and his right eye was pitch black. Although it was in the form of an infant, it exuded a proud aura and a dominance that had survived history. The moment it sensed the intrusion of the four spirit consciousnesses, the essence spirit rose. The spirit consciousness in the surrounding seemed to have converged into an ocean and shone with a resplendent light that rumbled furiously. Get lost. The essence spirit stood on the lotus platform and roared, creating raging tides within the spirit consciousness. Boom! An incomparably powerful spirit consciousness fluctuation burst forth with the green lotus platform as the center. The four spirit consciousnesses collided against Subdued's spirit consciousness. Two of the spirit consciousnesses drowned instantly. The remaining two spirit consciousnesses were unusually savage and tore through the layers of raging tides to try and fiercely devour Subdued's spirit consciousness. One of them was a grisly bloodbat with bloodshot eyes. Its mouth widened, exposing its sharp fangs as it chomped down on Subdued's essence spirit. All of a sudden, the 9 lotus holes on the lotus platform released rays of light that curved in a beautiful arc and circled around Subdued's essence spirit continuously. Poof, poof, poof. The 9 rays of light clashed against the bloodbat continuously. Although the 9 rays of light were dispersed, holes appeared on the bloodbat one after another as well. Before it could reach Subdued's essence spirit, the bloodbat essence spirit dissipated. In the blink of an eye, there was only one spirit consciousness left. This spirit consciousness was a thumb-sized WYRM and was the most powerful. It charged the entire way and finally closed in. This was none other than the essence spirit secret skill of the Territorial Lord of Ghastly River, Solitary Cloud. The long hair of Subdued's essence spirit danced without wind. Divine lights shone forth one after another from its black and red eyes. Instantly, scarlet scales appeared on the essence spirit's body and wrapped it tightly within. The spirit consciousness's dragon scales. This was something that was created from the cultivation of the mystic classic of the 12 demon kings of the great wilderness. With these spirit consciousness dragon scales, Subdued's essence spirit was able to roam the outside world without fear of the elements even though he was at nascent soul realm. The WYRM spirit consciousness opened its mouth and devoured Subdued's essence spirit into its belly fiercely. However, immediately after, the WYRM spirit consciousness writhed within Subdued's spirit consciousness as though it was in extreme turmoil. Rays of scarlet light spilled out of the WYRM spirit consciousness's body and intensified, growing clearer. Finally, the WYRM blazed in flames. In the blink of an eye, it vanished into emptiness. Subdued's essence spirit resurfaced and was considerably dimmer. It was clear that the toll on it was immense. However, the essence spirit's eyes shone with excitement. It had resolved the attack of the 9 spirit consciousnesses. His trump cards were thoroughly expended for it. Apart from the Mingwang prayer beads and the spirit consciousness dragon scales, the creation green lotus was protected by its 9 rays of resplendent lights. This was an amazing aspect of the creation green lotus that Subdued discovered for the past 6 months. Above the skies of Howling Moon Mountain, Subdued opened his eyes and revealed a faint smile. The 9 mid-level fiend demons around him were rooted on the spot with frozen expressions, as though they had lost their souls. The demons were all confused. Although the fight of the essence spirits was long upon narration, everything ended within the blink of an eye. The only thing the demons saw was 9 divine lights surging towards Subdued. 5 of them were dispersed while 4 of them shot into Subdued's glabella. Immediately after, the world went silent. Subdued opened his eyes with a faint smile. The 9 mid-level fiend demons had stricken expressions. Could they have lost? 9 mid-level fiend demons were unable to kill this man with a combined spirit consciousness attack. The Territorial Lords of Black Sand Ridge and Cyclone Cave had terrible expressions. In reality, they lost connection with their spirit consciousnesses the moment they entered Subdued's body, and they did not know what happened. However, Solitary Cloud's spirit consciousness was the last to disperse. Through Subdued's glabella, he sensed a faint aura of the dragon race. I've got it. That treasure of the dragon race must be a spirit consciousness dermic weapon that is hidden within this man's spirit consciousness. Solitary Cloud was enlightened. Chapter 832. Appearance of a True Dragon? Chapter 832. Appearance of a True Dragon? The 9 fiend demons were unnerved and had not snapped out of their stupor. However, Suzimo had already attacked. By this point of the battle, the 9 mid-level fiend demons no longer posed any threat to him. Splash! Suzimo circulated his blood chi, and the sound of tsunami tides surged within his body in a terrifying manner. The demons were shocked when they heard that sound. Tsunami blood. He had cultivated his bloodline to its limits. Solitary Cloud had a grim expression. Although he was a pure-blooded ferocious beast with a noble bloodline, he had not cultivated to that stage yet. Swash! Suzimo had already vanished from the spot. Because his speed was too fast, a series of afterimages lingered for a long time in midair. Bang! A mid-level fiend demon was momentarily distracted and felt a devastating power that sent his massive body flying instantly. While he was still in midair, he exploded into a blood mist and dyed the mountains red. Another mid-level fiend demon had fallen. There were 8 remaining. The Territorial Lord of Black Sand Ridge had a cold gaze as he waved his sharp scorpion tail that was laced with poison. He charged towards Suzimo and hollered, "Kill! This man has treasures from head to toe. His death will be a great opportunity for all of us." The Territorial Lord of Cyclone Cave said frostily as well. Solitary Cloud said nothing as he rode through the clouds. He had already charged towards Suzimo with a roar. Under the lead of the 3 Territorial Lords, the remaining 5 mid-level fiend demons lunged forward once again. Bang! 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 8 gigantic fiend demons encircled Suzimo. Suzimo was comparatively smaller like an ant. However, every single move he made possessed terrifying power of blood chi as he countered the attacks of the 8 fiend demons completely. None of these fiend demons were his match in melee combat. Figures weaved and maneuvered around one another. After a single exchange, the 8 fiend demons felt as though their bones were on the verge of snapping and their bodies felt like splitting apart. Solitary Cloud looked even more wretched. He was indignant and charged to the front and took Suzimo on with 2 punches. In the end, a few of his claws were snapped and he was in unendurable pain. Black Sand Eclipse. The Territorial Lord of Black Sand Ridge howled. His essence spirit was channeled to its limits as he released the secret skill of the scorpion race. A black sandstorm surged around him that blanketed the skies. The sand seemed like it was ordinary. However, every single sand particle was formed with dermic power and possessed toxic poison. If ordinary demon beasts were to consume the black sand, they would transform into pitch-black skeletons and their flesh would rot within 10 seconds. This was a demonic art that the young master of Black Sand Ridge released previously as well. However, Suzimo dispelled it without even a scratch on him. Although the Territorial Lord of Black Sand Ridge was also a mid-level fiend demon, the dermic power of his demonic art was way stronger, and it was clear that its power was a few levels higher. Suzimo furrowed his brows slightly. His 2 essence spirits were exhausted after the essence spirit fight, and it was difficult for him to release any dermic art for defense. However, the Black Sand Eclipse was extremely lethal, and he might get injured if he tried to defend with his physical body alone. A look of conviction flashed through Suzimo's eyes. Since that's the case, it's time to bring an end to things. Suzimo reared his head into the skies and roared, "I'll show you guys what I can do as well." Before his sentence was completed, scarlet demonic chi circled around him and swiftly created ancient demons one after another. They were lifelike with shuddering gazes and menacing fangs and claws. There was a wild bovine, stone bear, sanguine ape, anaconda, divine steed, hell tiger, and wind leopard. The 7 demons were massive in size and had frightening auras. Some of them were more than 100 feet tall, some of them were more than 100 feet long. All of them were murderous as they glared forward with bloodshot eyes. Surrounded by the 7 ancient demons, Although Suzimo was much smaller in size, it seemed as though he was the sole ruler within the universe that was unparalleled. What is that? What is up with those demon beasts? Goodness! What's the true form of this man? How are there so many demon beasts? A series of exclamations sounded from above and beneath Howling Moon Mountain. Beneath the firmaments, the 7 demons stood in midair and looked down at everyone, as though they had lived through eternity and had arrived here by going against the tides of time. The demons were shocked. The demon beasts present did not have the experience to recognize this as a bloodline phenomenon. Only Solitary Cloud could recall some sparse descriptions from the depths of his memories. Instantly, his face turned incomparably pale and he looked flustered. Bloodbat Sonar Realm. The Territorial Lord of Cyclone Cave's eyes were bloodshot and murderous. He could not be bothered any longer as he released a secret skill. Sonar Realm was a secret skill unique to the bat race. If one was caught unprepared, their eardrums would shatter the moment the secret skill was released. In fact, weaker demon beasts might have their essence spirits destroyed by the Sonar Realm. Within the void, ripples surfaced. The Sonar Realm's secret skill had already materialized and was surging towards Suzimo with a boundless killing intent. Suzimo's gaze was indifferent, and he was motionless as he opened his mouth. The 7 demons surrounding him opened their mouths as well, mimicking him. Roar! A roar echoed from the mouths of Suzimo and the 7 demons, surging forward at the same time with enough power to devour mountains and rivers. The Territorial Lord of Cyclone Cave's Sonar Realm looked insignificant compared to the roar and dissipated into emptiness instantly. The 8 fiend demons in the surroundings shuddered. There are some low-level fiend demons beneath that did not manage to dodge in time. Their lips, eyes, nostrils, and ears oozed with blood in a horrific manner. The spirit demons across the mountains were even sprawled on the ground, shivering in fear. Solitary Cloud shuddered and stirred awake from his slumber. His ears buzzed and ringed in pain as he looked towards Suzimo instinctively. Go! Suzimo hollered, and the 7 ancient demons around him charged forward. One of the mid-level fiend demons' mind went blank from the shock, and he had a lost expression. The Hell Tiger charged forward and chomped off the former's head with a single bite, killing him along with his essence spirit. The 7 demons charged towards the 7 mid-level fiend demons. Solitary Cloud was the only one without a demon charging towards him. However, right as Solitary Cloud was looking at Suzimo, the latter turned and met his gaze. Immediately after, Solitary Cloud caught sight of something that shocked him. Suzimo had a cold gaze. Behind him, there was a long, slender figure of a demon beast. It was faintly visible and coiled around his neck as it spiraled upwards. It was the 8th demon. The figure of the Demon King was formed, and it resembled both a WYRM and an anaconda. However, its appearance was blurry and it could not be seen extremely clearly. Could that demon be a WYRM? Before Solitary Cloud's thought was finished, he looked beneath the abdomen of the 8th demon and his gaze gradually froze. There were 4 claws beneath the abdomen of the demon. WYRMs were born with 2 feet. True dragons had 4 feet. Immediately after, Solitary Cloud's pupils constricted. Sinisterly, scales appeared one after another on the surface of that person and covered his body instantly. Pissed! Solitary Cloud gasped with a stricken expression as a frightening possibility crossed his mind. There was no treasure from the dragon race. There was only a true dragon. The aura of the dragon race was emanated from the true dragon before him. It was no wonder why this person was so strong in combat and possessed such a terrifying bloodline. It was no wonder why this person had brazenly declared that a WYRM like him was not qualified to witness the person's true form. The lifelong dream of WYRMs was to turn into dragons. And now, he had witnessed a true dragon. Thud. Solitary Cloud was so frightened that he knelt onto the ground with a thud. Chapter 833, Subdued. Chapter 833, Subdued. The descent of the bloodline phenomenon crushed the final hopes of the territorial lords of Black Sand Ridge and Cyclone Cave. The two territorial lords were scared out of their wits completely. These capabilities were beyond their understanding of things. Without hesitation, the two of them chose to escape right away. When their territorial lords ran, the remaining mid-level fiend demons could not be bothered and turned to flee as well. However, the two territorial lords were the first to react, and their speeds were faster than the others as well. Both of them managed to flee from the area of effect of the bloodline phenomenon by a hair's breadth. The remaining mid-level fiend demons were not so lucky. When the wild bovine, sanguine ape, and the other demons charged forward, all of them were killed. Their flesh splattered everywhere in a tragic manner, and their essence spirits were extinguished on the spot. Although for some unknown reason, on the other side of the battlefield, the territorial lord of Ghastly River was kneeling on the ground with indescribable fright. Nobody could take notice of that by this point of the battle. The territorial lords of Black Sand Ridge and Cyclone Cave had the same idea and both fled in different directions. The territorial lord of Black Sand Ridge returned to his human form. His massive scorpion form was inconvenient for his escape among the dense forest with tall trees. On the contrary, after he was in his human form, he became much more agile and was a smaller target. Swish! The territorial lord of Black Sand Ridge sprinted with all his might and felt the wind howl beside his ears. His back felt cold and was drenched with sweat. Once I return to Black Sand Ridge, I'll definitely gather powerful experts and return once again. He had a wrathful expression and howled in his heart. He was a territorial lord and had reigned over Black Sand Ridge for several thousand years. Naturally, he was well connected and knew many powerful experts. There was no way he was going to let things go easily after the immense loss this time round. As he fled, his essence spirit throbbed in pain due to the prolonged intense toll it undertook. Even so, the feeling of danger behind him did not vanish and followed him like a shadow. Furthermore, it felt even more pressing. Could he have caught up to me? The territorial lord of Black Sand Ridge could not help but turn back. That single turn scared him out of his wits and his legs went limp. Not far behind him, a purple thunderbolt was surging forward at an extremely fast speed like a flash of lightning. The distance between the two of them was decreasing rapidly. Although he could not see it clearly, the territorial lord of Black Sand Ridge knew that the purple thunderbolt was none other than the demon beast named Emo. Purple escape. It was an escape technique from the Purple Thunder manual. Although this escape technique's burst power and speed could not compare to blood escape, the good thing about it was that it did not have any sequelae on the body. "Sir, please spare me." The territorial lord of Black Sand Ridge suddenly paused in his tracks and spun around when he realized that he could not escape. He kowtowed in Suzumo's direction and shouted, "I'm willing to submit to you." The two of them were extremely close. The territorial lord of Black Sand Ridge was scared out of his wits with a flustered expression, looking as though he had given up completely. If it was anyone else, they would have let their guard down at that moment. However, the moment the territorial lord of Black Sand Ridge spoke, he coiled his tongue and a streak of black light shot out. It carried a repulsive stench and burst towards Suzumo's face. In truth, the dermic weapon that was taken away by the mystic magnet mountain was not his destiny dermic weapon. This black poison needle was. This black poison needle was refined day and night using the most toxic poison within his body, the poison of his scorpion tail. The poison was something that even pure-blooded ferocious beasts could not withstand. With this move, he managed to escape from the brink of death countless times by killing his opponents instead. There were many mid-level fiend demons within the vast Thousand Demon Valley. There was no way he could become a territorial lord without some capabilities. His method might have worked against others. Unfortunately, it was useless against Suzumo. Suzumo cultivated the mystic classic of the 12 demon kings of the great wilderness and possessed his spirit perception. He sensed danger the moment the territorial lord of Black Sand Ridge turned around. Suddenly, a blinding glow shot forth from his right eye, resembling a blazing sun. Instantly, the rainwater around them evaporated. It was the visual technique, Illumination Dragon Eye. A column of light tore through the void through the black poison needle in midair and pierced through the Territorial Lord of Black Sand Ridge's head entirely. The distance between the two of them was too close. In other words, the Territorial Lord of Black Sand Ridge could not dodge that killing move at all. No blood dripped down. The area around the wound was burned up. The glow of the black poison needle dimmed as it fell. Even a destiny-dermic weapon was useless against the attack of Illumination Dragon Eye. The Territorial Lord of Black Sand Ridge's eyes were widened. His expression carried the same menace right before he launched the ambush, but there was a hint of pity within his eyes. He had truly not expected his killing move to be countered by Suzimo so easily. Less than that, he had not expected that he would die in the blink of an eye. A Territorial Lord had fallen. He would no longer have the chance to return to Black Sand Ridge. Suzimo had a cold expression as he waved his robes. He collected the Territorial Lord of Black Sand Ridge's storage bag and turned to leave without looking at the corpse. He had to settle the Territorial Lords of Cyclone Cave and Ghastly River still. With lightning speed, Suzimo vanished from the spot and disappeared into the forest. The moment they arrived in the air above Howling Moon Mountain, Black Wolf and Chanrui closed in. Both of them had odd expressions and wanted to speak but stopped. The solitary cloud of Territorial Lord stood beside the two of them. Suzimo furrowed his brows slightly. Was Solitary Cloud trying to threaten him by holding Black Wolf and Chanrui hostage? Before that thought was finished, Solitary Cloud took the first step to walk towards Suzimo. With a thud, he knelt on one knee and cupped his fists. Territorial Lord, I am willing to be your underling and lead all the river demons of Ghastly River to submit to you. Suzimo was about to speak when Solitary Cloud flipped his palm, revealing a weak essence spirit within. It was a blood-colored bat. Solitary Cloud said with a respectful expression, Territorial Lord, this was the blood bat of Cyclone Cave that escaped earlier. I've already captured it. Suzimo raised his brow. This WYRM was interesting indeed. Not only did the WYRM submit to him, the former even captured the Territorial Lord of Cyclone Cave that had escaped. Solitary Cloud asked, Territorial Lord, how should we deal with this bat? Kill it. Suzimo waved his hand. Without hesitation, Solitary Cloud exerted strength with his palm and crushed the essence spirit of the Territorial Lord of Cyclone Cave. Without Suzimo's command, Solitary Cloud did not rise and merely knelt obediently before him. Black Wolf and Chanrui exchanged glances. Both of them could see the shock in the other's eyes. Solitary Cloud's attitude towards Suzimo was strange. It did not seem as though he had submitted due to Suzimo's strength. Instead, it seemed as though there was a sense of reverence and fear from the depths of his heart. Both of them were confused. Although outsiders typically have a clearer view of the situation, the two of them were utterly puzzled. Both parties were fighting earlier on. All of a sudden, one party knelt in fright and kowtowed. Suzimo gazed at Solitary Cloud with a deep look in his eyes. Solitary Cloud's expression was respectful and not hypocritical at all. On account that Solitary Cloud's bloodline and combat strength was decent, Suzimo waved it off. Rise. From this day forth, you shall be one of the deputy territorial lords of Howling Moon Mountain. Understood. Solitary Cloud was delighted and rose. Notwithstanding the submission of Ghastly River's territorial lord, the territorial lords of Black Sand Ridge and Cyclone Cave had fallen, and both those territories had no owners. Suzimo intended to include those two territories under Howling Moon Mountain, and right now, he was lacking assistance like Solitary Cloud. Chapter 834, 800 Years Later. Chapter 834, 800 Years Later. After the battle, corpses were strewn everywhere in a devastating sight. However, the demon beasts of Howling Moon Mountain that survived were excited as they collected various trophies of war from the ground. They had won this battle. Initially, Howling Moon Mountain was on the verge of destruction. However, with the arrival of one person, the tides had changed entirely. The demons reared their heads and looked at the figure on the mountain peak of Howling Moon Mountain with reverence in their eyes. There was an indescribable fervor in their gazes. In the world of demons, their belief was that the strong reigned supreme. After this battle, the rise of Howling Moon Mountain was inevitable and no one would be able to stand in its way. The Rat King puffed his chest proudly as he walked through the crowd with an impressive strut. From time to time, lesser demons would close in with pandering expressions and offer him spoils of war. He had the right to be proud indeed. No matter what, he was the one that brought Suzimo here from the ancient battlefield. Among the demons, he was also the first to make acquaintance with Suzimo. That fact alone gave him an unshakable status among the demons. On the mountaintop, Monkey, the spirit tiger, and Ching Ching descended with blood all over their body. Some were theirs, and some were from other people. Che Che, amazing. Monkey smacked his lips and grinned, as though he could not feel any pain on his body at all. There was finally a great battle that could satisfy him after he became a fiend demon. Along with the spirit tiger and Ching Ching, the three of them hunted down fiend demons of Black Sand Ridge and Cyclone Cave for dozens of kilometers and had only just returned. Although Little Fox had already adapted to life in the jungle, she did not like to kill. She did not chase after the demon beasts of the two territories that fled and returned to Suzimo's side a long time ago. Go and rest to recuperate first? Suzimo smiled. There might be more battles in time to come. He was already prepared to head to Black Sand Ridge and Cyclone Cave and claim the territories under his command. Be it Territorial Lords or Overlords, it would naturally be better for them if they occupied more territory. The greater their territory, the more the demon beasts under their command. This also meant that they would gain access to even more resources such as natural minerals, materials, spirit herbs, and treasures. Territorial Lord, thank you for protecting Howling Moon Mountain. Black Wolf bowed deeply towards Suzimo. Without Suzimo, the outcome of the battle today would have been starkly different. Howling Moon Mountain would have ceased to exist, divided by Black Sand Ridge, Cyclone Cave, and Ghastly River. But now, not only has Ghastly River submitted, the territory of Howling Moon Mountain has expanded by more than twice. At that thought, Black Wolf turned to look at Solitary Cloud instinctively. It was understandable why the Territorial Lords of Black Sand Ridge and Cyclone Cave were defeated. It was because they were weak. Among them, the Territorial Lord of Ghastly River behaved the strangest. The other two Territorial Lords bore a semblance of hope and turned to flee. However, this guy chose to submit right away. At that moment, Solitary Cloud said, Territorial Lord, you seem to always be alone. Don't you have a mount yet? No. Suzimo shook his head without thinking too much. That's good. Solitary Cloud was delighted and hurriedly said, Territorial Lord, let me be your mount. Black Wolf and Chanrui were both pondering about why Solitary Cloud would submit and whether the latter possessed any devious intentions. However, their jaws nearly fell to the ground when they heard that. This was not just a mere submission. He was almost sprawled onto the ground completely. Where in the world would there be a demon beast that would offer to be a mount for someone else? It might be understandable if they were facing a supreme expert or some overlord, but this was a low-level fiend demon right before them. It's fine. Suzimo waved it off. You are the Deputy Territorial Lord of Howling Moon Mountain. It will lower your status significantly if you become my mount. It's fine, it's fine. Solitary Cloud waved it off as well. I won't be a Deputy Territorial Lord then. I'll just be your mount. Both Black Wolf and Chanrui were stunned. Solitary Cloud was the most prideful loner in the region. As a pure-blooded ferocious beast, he was indeed qualified to have that attitude. However, what was happening here? Wasn't the difference in his attitude before and after way too great? Could he have some immense benefit to gain by being the mount of the Territorial Lord? It was a fleeting thought, and neither of them thought too much about it. In truth, there was indeed an immense benefit for Solitary Cloud to be Suzimo's mount. After Solitary Cloud deduced Suzimo's true form, He garnered that he could accompany the latter and cultivate together with him if he became the latter's mount. Even if he could only absorb a trace of aura from the dragon race, it would provide an unimaginable benefit for Solitary Cloud's cultivation. The dragon race. That was the existence that once reigned over the primordial era. In Solitary Cloud's mind, he imagined that as someone from the dragon race, Suzimo must have come to this random small place to become a territorial lord just to have some fun. Once he had his fill of fun, he would definitely return. If Solitary Cloud could follow Suzimo along to return to the sacred land of the dragon race, the possibility of his dragonification would be much greater. Suzimo mulled for a moment and had already guessed Solitary Cloud's thoughts. "Are you sure?" He gave a faint smile with an odd gaze. "Definitely. I won't regret it." Solitary Cloud nodded hurriedly. "I'm willing to lay down a blood oath and follow you for life." "There's no need." Suzimo waved it off and interrupted him. "If you're willing to do it, we'll follow your intentions." "Thank you, Master." Solitary Cloud had already changed his way of addressing Suzimo. "Your status as a deputy territorial lord shall remain unchanged. Head back, recuperate, and prepare to attack Black Sand Ridge and Cyclone Cave." Suzimo said deeply. "Understood." Solitary Cloud bowed in response. Suzimo stood at the top of the mountain with Monkey, the spirit tiger, Little Fox, and Ching Ching behind him. His scarlet hair rested on his shoulders as he looked into the distance with a deep gaze and murmured, "From this day forth, the 5 of us siblings are going to start ruling over the vast forests." Suzimo gazed into the north with a hint of sorrow in his eyes. He was far from his homeland and would most likely not be able to return within a short period of time. "Ching Ching, hurry, look. I painstakingly dug this beautiful pearl necklace personally from a corpse. It's extremely compatible with you." "Get lost. You disgust me." "Foo-foo, Brother Tiger. You sure won't know how to coax a girl," Foxy quipped in a teasing manner. The sorrow in Suzimo's eyes dissipated when he heard the laughter around him, and he gave a suave smile. At the very least, he won't be bored in the future with Monkey, the spirit tiger, Ching Ching, and Little Fox around him. A storm was destined to befall Thousand Demon Valley because of the 5 of them. A month later, the army of Howling Moon Mountain was split into 2, led by Suzimo and Solitary Cloud respectively to conquer Black Sand Ridge and Cyclone Cave. Solitary Cloud fought against the demons of Cyclone Cave for half a day, and the latter submitted. Suzimo descended upon Black Sand Ridge and killed half of the Black Scorpion race, leading to an instant submission by the demons of Black Sand Ridge. Thereafter, in less than half a year, Howling Moon Mountain merged Black Sand Ridge and Cyclone Cave completely, and the territory under their command on the maps expanded rapidly. The name of Howling Moon Mountain spread wildly. In the days after, Howling Moon Mountain engaged in a few more conquests against the territories in the vicinity, and everything concluded in victory. The territory of Howling Moon Mountain expanded once again. The name of the Mo demon was renowned. Many experts came in reverence of the Mo demon and submitted to his might. As such, the strength of Howling Moon Mountain grew even further. Towards the end, Suzimo rarely appeared. Solitary Cloud, Black Wolf, and the other demons held the fort, and that was enough to ensure Howling Moon Mountain's continued development. The sands of time flowed freely. In the blink of an eye, 100 years passed. Chapter 835, Thousand Demon Meet. Chapter 835, Thousand Demon Meet. Howling Moon Mountain's peak. A figure stood in the breeze with his hands behind his back. His robes fluttered, his scarlet hair danced, and his eyes were clear with a gaze as deep as the ocean. He had refined features and looked like a scholar in his 20s. Time seemed to have left no mark on his face at all. The only hint of age was through the wistful look in his eyes from time to time. Suzimo gazed into the distance with a pensive expression. There was an old saying that the road of cultivation was endless and caused one to lose sight of the world. It was at this moment that he resonated with the idea deeply. 100 years was probably an entire lifetime for mortals in the secular realm. However, For nascent souls with lifespans of 1,000 years, it did not mean much at all. Things were still peaceful in Howling Moon Mountain after 100 years. However, nobody knew if anything major happened within the cultivation world, or if any paragons or monster incarnates were born. Suzimo did not know if his old acquaintances were doing well. He had not rested for the past 100 years. Right now, his cultivation realm was at the peak of mid-stage nascent soul realm. This cultivation speed was not considered slow for nascent souls. More importantly, Suzimo's essence spirits had been nurturing the creation green lotus for the past 100 years. Right now, the creation green lotus was at grade 4. A grade 4 creation green lotus was not inferior to a Khanate perfected Lord Dermic weapon in terms of strength. Not only that, Suzimo spent most of his effort for the past 100 years researching the ancient book left behind by the mighty figure of Tomb Sect. The ancient book recorded many attempts and methods from predecessors on how mortals without spirit roots should attempt to cultivate. Su Hong's death and the plight of the citizens of Yin country had a huge impact on Suzimo. That was the reason why he laid down a vow that he wanted to establish a Tao and alter the fates of the living beings of the world. His Tao would allow everyone without spirit roots to cultivate so that they can be in control of their own fates. Hai had benefited immensely for the past 100 years. In truth, be it for the immortal, Buddhist, fiend, or demon Taoists, the formation of a core was the most important barrier. Suzimo discovered that as long as one broke through from the core formation realm and cultivated an essence spirit, the function of the spirit root was almost negligible. In other words, the spirit root was merely a stepping stone onto the path of cultivation. The more important thing was for people to form golden cores without the existence of a spirit root. Naturally, that was something that could be achieved through demonic cultivation. However, Suzimo could not let the rest of the world follow in his footsteps, where they would be ostracized by the most other human cultivators at the end of their cultivations. Suzimo researched the ancient book and made many hypotheses along those lines of thought, gaining deep insights in the process. Of course, he had not given up on the dermic arts of the Yin Spirit, Purple Thunder Manual, and Great Day Relai Sutra. He cultivated and comprehended them constantly as well. Right then, a blood-colored light column surged in the distant horizon. It pierced into the clouds and vanished soon after. The blood-light column was extremely far from Howling Moon Mountain, and its exact location was unknown. Suzimo furrowed his brows slightly as he gazed at the dissipated blood light. A familiar sensation surfaced in his mind for a brief moment. Solitary cloud, Suzimo called softly. In the darkness not far behind him, a figure darted out. It was the original Territorial Lord of Ghastly River and Suzimo's current mount, Solitary Cloud. Solitary Cloud was still a mid-level fiend demon 100 years later. However, his aura was purer and his gaze seemed much sharper. It was clear that he had advanced greatly in his cultivation. Whenever Suzimo cultivated throughout the years, Solitary Cloud watched by the sides. Each time Suzimo cultivated the Yin Spirit section of the Mystic Classic of the 12 Demon Kings of the Great Wilderness, he would exude some aura of the dragon race that provided immense benefits for Solitary Cloud. Suzimo asked, "Do you know what that heavenly piercing blood column earlier was?" "It's most likely from the 1,000-year blood sea," Solitary Cloud replied. 1,000-year blood sea? Suzimo murmured softly. Solitary Cloud explained, "The 1,000-year blood sea is a lake in the center of the 1,000-demon valley. The reason why it's called a sea is because it has a large surface area and its edges can't be seen with a single gaze. Furthermore, this sea is extremely strange. The color of the sea turns darker as time passes by. At 1,000 years, it will reach its peak and the sea will be as bright red as blood." Suzimo asked again, "What do people know about the 1,000-year blood sea?" Solitary Cloud continued, "It's said that the blood sea gathers the essence, blood, and souls of demon beasts that have fallen for the past 1,000 years. If any fiend demon can cultivate within, they would grow at an astonishing speed." Suzimo raised his brow and asked, "If that's the case, Wouldn't the Blood Sea be a precious place where fights and massacres happen at every moment since everyone is vying for it? That was indeed the case initially. Solitary Cloud nodded. However, later on, the battles got too miserable and escalated. In fact, even high-level territorial lords fell one after another. Because of that, the 7 great overlords of Thousand Demon Valley decided to put an end to the war and had everyone share the 1,000-year Blood Sea. The Blood Sea opens up once every 1,000 years, and there's a total of 10 spots. The 7 overlords will each send territorial lords under their rule to fight for the 10 positions. Suzimo could not help but ask at that point, since the 1,000-year Blood Sea is so amazing, why don't high-level fiend demons head there to cultivate? There's a limit to the power within the Blood Sea. The boost for high-level fiend demons cultivating there is not significant. For low-level fiend demons, their essence spirits and physical bodies are unable to withstand the power of the Blood Sea. Therefore, mid-level fiend demons are naturally the most suitable to cultivate there. Solitary Cloud mulled for a moment. Of course, given your strength, there should be no issue if you enter the Blood Sea and cultivate within. Suzimo nodded. The soul-nourishing blood ginseng and other spirit refinement consumables he had obtained in the ancient battlefield had long been used up in the past 100 years. Even the grade of the creation green lotus was now at a bottleneck due to Suzimo's cultivation realm. Even if he entered seclusion and cultivated for hundreds or 1,000 years, there might not be any progress for his bottleneck. At times like this, a cultivator had to venture out into the world. The breakthrough can come in the form of an opportunity or a great battle. Perhaps, one might even be inspired at a foreign place and achieve a sudden breakthrough as well. Through Solitary Cloud's words, the opportunity to cultivate at the 1,000-year Blood Sea was a rare one that must not be missed. However, there were extremely few positions available, and there would definitely be a vicious battle involved if Suzimo wanted to obtain one. He asked again, how should I obtain a position to cultivate in the Blood Sea? The 1,000 demon meet. Solitary Cloud replied, a month later, 1,000 demon meet will be hosted in the vicinity of the 1,000-year Blood Sea. At that time, the overlords of 1,000 Demon Valley and many territorial lords will arrive. It's a grand occasion for the demon race. He pondered for a moment and explained, Lord Imo, if you wish to take part in it, we've got to pay a visit to the Overlord in charge of Howling Moon Mountain first. Overlords were above territorial lords. There were 7 overlords in 1,000 Demon Valley. Beneath each overlord was countless territorial lords. Even Solitary Cloud had not met the overlord in charge of Howling Moon Mountain. It was said that the overlord was a demon ape and resided in Ape Chatter Ridge. All right, we'll head to Ape Chatter Ridge 3 days later. Suzimo did not hesitate since he had already decided and laid down the orders immediately. Chapter 836, 10 Great Territorial Lords. Chapter 836, 10 Great Territorial Lords. Suzimo did not take many people with him for the trip. Apart from Monkey and the other 3, there was Solitary Cloud and the Rat King. Black Wolf and Chanrui stayed behind at Howling Moon Mountain to guard over the territory in case other territories tried to seize the opportunity and invade. Solitary Cloud reverted to his true form of a WYRM, and Suzimo, along with everyone else, rode on his back. Because Solitary Cloud was a pure-blooded ferocious beast and a mid-level fiend demon, there were few demon beasts that were foolish enough to rush at them along the way. The group of them crossed mountains and ridges through dozens of territories for many days. After close to half a month, they finally arrived at the vicinity of Ape Chatter Ridge. Before them was a majestic forest. The reason why it was referred to as majestic was because every single ancient tree in the forest before them had existed for a long time. All of them towered into the skies with luscious branches and leaves. They had thick trunks that resembled heavenly piercing pillars and vines coiled around their surfaces like gigantic anacondas. The size of everyone in Suzimo's group could not even be compared to the thickness of the roots of the ancient trees. There were only slivers of light within the entire forest, and the place seemed eerie. Solitary Cloud reverted to his human form, and everyone descended. None of them could conceal the shock in their eyes as they gazed at the forest. Unknowingly, all of them felt an indescribable pressure. Suzimo asked, Solitary Cloud, how much do you know about the Overlord of Ape Chatter Ridge? There are 7 Overlords in Thousand Demon Valley. It's said that this demon ape has held his position for the longest time, possibly more than 5,000 years. Solitary Cloud replied. He had reigned for 5,000 years. Suzimo's expression turned grim. Overlords were not only high-level fiend demons, but also the strongest existences among high-level fiend demons. Only those with strength superior to their peers could reign over a place. Suzimo felt uneasy visiting the Overlord out of the blue without knowing anything about the latter. After all, he was at the peak of mid-stage nascent soul realm right now. If he released his trump cards fully, there's a chance for him to fight against mid-level fiend demons that were a major cultivation realm above him. However, against high-level fiend demons, or even the Overlord who was the strongest among the high-level fiend demons, Suzimo definitely stood no chance at all. During the fight at Ethereal Peak, the old immortal crane broke through her bottleneck and transformed into a high-level fiend demon. At that time, the Azura told Suzimo that upon becoming high-level fiend demons, demon beasts would awaken their innate divine powers. Spirit energy could not match dermic powers. Dermic powers could not match divine powers. It was an absolute suppression of a different level. Suzimo gazed at the dark forest before him and said deeply with a bright gaze, Everyone, our future is uncertain with this trip here to Ape Chatter Ridge. Keep a low profile and don't behave recklessly. It was rare for Suzimo to instruct everyone as such. Back in Howling Moon Mountain, everyone could behave without restraints. However, this was the Ape Chatter Ridge. The owner of this territory was a high-level fiend demon. Furthermore, there was definitely more than one high-level fiend demon here. Apart from Solitary Cloud, most of them were only low-level fiend demons. The difference was 2 major cultivation realms. If a fight broke out, they could be killed as easily as ants. For sure, for sure. The Rat King nodded hurriedly. His expression was already pale from shock before he entered Ape Chatter Ridge. His purpose of heading here originally was to expand his horizons and experience the Thousand Demon Meet. But now, before the Thousand Demon Meet even began, he was already feeling regrets when they had to visit an Overlord. The Spirit Tiger extended his finger and prodded Monkey in a teasing manner. Brother Monkey, first is referring to you. Don't be reckless. Get lost. Monkey slapped away the Spirit Tiger's palm. Even so, he knew that he was indeed the most reckless in their group. Apart from the fact that he knew nothing about Ape Chatter Ridge, the reason why Suzimo was so cautious was because he had a faint feeling. It was like intuition. He had a feeling that something major was about to happen in Ape Chatter Ridge. Fufu, why are low-level fiend demons from some unknown territory having fun here? Suddenly, a chuckle came not far away. Everyone frowned and turned over. A black wind blew past. After it dissipated, more than 100 fiend demons appeared. All of them had powerful auras and shuddering gazes. These were all mid-level fiend demons. The leader had a scrawny face with thin lips and a long, crooked nose that resembled an eagle. His gaze was extremely sharp, filled with utter disdain. Monkey gripped his fists, and a hint of scarlet flashed through the depths of his eyes as he glared at this person. The Spirit Tiger and everyone else lamented internally. Trouble came knocking on the door before they even entered Ape Chatter Ridge. The other party had a lot more in numbers, and all of them were powerful mid-level fiend demons. If a fight broke out, their chance of victory was slim. Furthermore, it was truly inconvenient to have a conflict without knowing the background of the other party. The Spirit Tiger and everyone else turned to look at Monkey, afraid that he might start a fight in a moment of rage and ignite a conflict. Monkey took a deep breath and closed his eyes gradually, swallowing his pride. Given his usual personality, he would have charged forward against the other party's provocations right away, unable to endure it. It did not matter how many people were on the other end or what cultivation realms they were. Everything could wait until he fought them to the end. Suzimo lowered his eyes without saying anything. Sir, The group of puny demons are so frightened that they can't say anything. Sir, you're amazing. Hurry, take a look at that rat demon. His face is ashen and his legs are shivering. That sure is a cowardly rat, haha. The group of demons burst into laughter. Suddenly, Monkey opened his eyes and bared his teeth slightly with a menacing gaze. Right as he was about to speak, the Rat King at the side darted forward in front of Monkey. I am truly way too cowardly, heh? I've made a joke of myself to you great sirs. The Rat King had a look of inferiority and smiled in a pandering manner. Scram, don't let us see you again. The eagle-nosed man in the lead waved it off idly with a look of disgust as he sneered. I'm even afraid of dirtying my hands killing puny demons like you guys. Why yes, you're right, sir. The Rat King bowed with a smile. Let's go. The eagle-nosed man beckoned, and the group of demons roared in laughter as they entered Ape Chatter Ridge. That seems to be Ing Li, one of the 10 great territorial lords. That's right. Apart from him, nobody will dare to be so cocky in Ape Chatter Ridge. I heard that Ing Li has a bloodline connection to a great protector of Ape Chatter Ridge. Even without the protector, Ing Li's strength is evident. He's most likely among the top 3 of the 10 great territorial lords and probably on the way to advance to a high-level fiend demon. Su Zimo had a calm expression as he listened to the discussions of demon beasts nearby. The spirit tiger, solitary cloud, and the others were secretly alarmed with a lingering sense of trepidation. Monkey frowned as well. The protectors of Ape Chatter Ridge were starkly different from the protectors of Howling Moon Mountain. Without mistake, the protectors of Ape Chatter Ridge should be high-level fiend demons. To think that we would casually bump into a fiend demon with such a powerful background, Ching Ching sighed. Little Fox asked curiously, who are the 10 great territorial lords they are referring to? There are several hundred territories under Ape Chatter Ridge, and Howling Moon Mountain is only one of them. Solitary Cloud explained. Among the several hundred territorial lords, the strongest 10 are referred to as the 10 great territorial lords. This man has already threatened us to head back. If we advance recklessly and bump into them again, I'm afraid. The Rat King had a nervous expression but did not continue speaking. No worries. Su Zimo waved it off and said nonchalantly, follow me in. With that said, he led the group into Ape Chatter Ridge. Chapter 837, Arrival of the Overlord. Chapter 837, Arrival of the Overlord. There were more demon beasts after they entered Ape Chatter Ridge, and everyone headed towards a certain direction. There were many forked roads in the forest and visibility was dim. Although there was no one leading the way, Su Zimo's group did not get lost following the group of demons in front of them. Why are there some low-level fiend demons all of a sudden? Are they here to die? These fiend demons seem to be from Howling Moon Mountain or whatnot. I heard that is the latest territory to rise, and their territorial lord is a low-level fiend demon. Haha, even a monkey can rule over a mountain without a tiger. Not far away, fiend demons made fun of Su Zimo's group and roared in laughter. Are they blind? Who says that there's no tiger? I'm right here. The spirit tiger grumbled softly. The Rat King gave a gentle cough and consoled. At the very least, Howling Moon Mountain has made a small name for itself. The group of them continued forward. 2 hours later, the clamor at the front grew clearer. There were people all around and rich demonic chi that surged into the air, almost enveloping the entire forest. Everyone was spirited and hastened with their footsteps. Not long after, they exited the forest and their vision expanded. A massive flatland appeared within the forest with many fiend demons gathered. Although all of them were in human form, they exuded rumbling demonic chi, and it was unusually lively. A high platform was raised at the front where there were countless roundwood and vines. In the center was a spacious chair draped with a golden tiger skin. Without mistake, that should be the seat of Ape Chatter Ridge's Overlord. Su Zimo swept his gaze and caught sight of Ing Li's group before long. Ing Li's group stood at the front of the raised platform and was chatting with the fiend demons behind him in high spirits. Apart from Ing Li, 9 other fiend demons stood at the front. Their auras were strong and outsiders did not dare to approach them. Without mistake, the 10 of them should be the 10 great territorial lords. They were probably the only ones qualified to be the closest to the raised platform. The spirit tiger was indignant and mumbled, "If we had known earlier, we should have brought more men here to strengthen our presence." With a single gaze, it could be seen that almost 100 territorial lords were here. Every single territorial lord had at least 100 men with them. Some of the territorial lords even rallied close to 1,000 men and exuded grandeur. Suzumo's group did seem much more pathetic in comparison. Not only were the majority of them low-level fiend demons, there were even less than 10 of them. Suzumo did not squeeze his way forward and stood right at the back of the group of demons. In any case, he could see everything on the raised platform clearly given the prowess of his vision. "We can see the Overlord of Ape Chatter Ridge soon. The thought of it is making me excited." The Rat King rubbed his palms together and said softly as sweat surfaced on the tip of his nose. Under normal circumstances, given his experience, there was no way he could have the opportunity to meet the Overlord unless he cultivated to the realm of a high-level fiend demon. Even if he only managed to catch a mere glimpse of the Overlord of Ape Chatter Ridge for his trip here, it would be enough bragging rights upon his return to Howling Moon Mountain. If he could take part in the 1,000 Demon Meet and see the 7 Overlords of 1,000 Demon Valley, that would be incredible. The Rat King was lost in his imagination when Suzumo's voice suddenly sounded. "Here he comes." "Huh? Where?" The Rat King had a lost expression and looked over, but could not see anyone. The other fiend demons laughed and conversed, as though they had not noticed anything. All of a sudden, the expression of the leader of the 10 great territorial lords changed, and he looked into the forest beside him, as though he sensed something. Not long after, 6 figures exited the forest. The leader was an old ape with grayish-white fur. His face was filled with wrinkles, his eyes were hazy, and he walked extremely slowly. In fact, he looked like he was hobbling. The clamor of the demons gradually quietened down. The 10 great territorial lords had various expressions. Some of them sighed. Others shook their heads. Some of them had mocking looks in their eyes. For most of the fiend demons, they were stunned. Even Suzumo's mouth was slightly agape, and he had a surprised look on his face. This old ape was the legendary Overlord of Ape Chatter Ridge. This old ape did not possess the dominating might of an overlord and merely looked old and lethargic, as though he was in his twilight years. This old ape did not even seem like he was able to move smoothly. Despite his unwillingness to accept the fact, Suzumo was clear in his heart that this old ape was the Overlord of Ape Chatter Ridge. That was because the auras of the 5 figures behind him were simply way too powerful. They were high-level fiend demons. Only high-level fiend demons could exude that sort of overwhelming aura to suppress the entire crowd. It was said that the Overlord of Ape Chatter Ridge had 5 protectors. Without mistake, the 5 of them should be the old ape's protectors. It was beyond everybody's expectations. There wasn't any Wyrm mount, Green Luan, or any grand entrance. This Overlord came forth from the forest in an ordinary manner just like that. Step after step, he slowly ascended the raised platform. When he sat on his seat, he let out a long breath, as though the walk took a huge toll on his stamina. "Heis." At the side, Monkey suddenly sighed and said softly, "He looks rather pitiful." Perhaps because they were from the same race, Monkey felt a rare moment of emotion towards this old ape. Although this was an overlord, he could not fight against the sands of time and had to struggle with old age as well. This hero was past his prime. Who in this world could escape death? His past glory and achievements would eventually disappear, drowned in the surging rivers of time. The 5 protectors followed the old ape and ascended the raised platform indifferently. Among them, 2 protectors had odd expressions that vanished fleetingly, seemingly mocking and excited. Suzumo furrowed his brows slightly. Right then, something crossed Suzumo's mind. He had a feeling as though he was being watched by someone Suzimo turned around instinctively. On the raised platform, the old ape leaned on his chair as he gazed towards this direction with hazy eyes, looking absolutely emotionless. Suzimo's heart skipped a beat. The Mingwang prayer beads could not evade the old ape's detection. Thankfully, the scarlet-haired In spirit took the main seat within his spirit consciousness and exuded a rumbling demonic chi, so he did not have to worry about being exposed. Demons surrounded the depths of Thousand Demon Valley. If his identity as a human was exposed, he would be shredded into pieces by the demons instantly. The old ape glared at Suzimo for a while before shifting his gaze onto Monkey. He glared at Monkey for an even longer duration. A moment later, the old ape retracted his gaze and the wrinkles on his face seemed to have deepened. "Which territory are you from?" Suddenly, the old ape asked. All the demons were surprised and looked around, not knowing who the old ape was speaking to. Although the old ape no longer looked in his direction, Suzimo knew that the old ape was speaking to them. He raised his voice and replied, "Howling Moon Mountain." The moment he said that, countless gazes landed on him. Even the 10 territorial lords at the front turned around and gazed at the back. The moment Ingli saw that it was Suzimo's group, he frowned and his expression darkened. Isn't that the group of low-level fiend demons? How dare they ignore our territorial lord's words and continue here? They truly don't know what's good for them. A fiend demon said softly. Chapter 838, Overlord, You've Grown Old. Chapter 838, Overlord, You've Grown Old. Oh! The old ape let out a deep breath and raised his chin slightly. Howling Moon Mountain. I've heard of it before. That's the fastest rising territory for the past 100 years. The Rat King and everyone else was spirited, feeling as though they were honored. Suzimo had a calm expression. He could not figure out the old ape's intentions still. "Come over and let me have a look." The old ape's cloudy gaze was fixed on Suzimo's group as he raised his hand and beckoned weakly. Monkey turned to Suzimo questioningly. The old ape gave off a mysterious feeling and Monkey felt his hairs stand on end when he was swept by the former's gaze. He was asking Suzimo internally if there was anything wrong with the situation and whether they should kill their way out. Right now, they were standing at the back of all the demons. They might stand a chance if they turned to flee. Suzimo shook his head gently. Who could escape right in front of an overlord? Although this overlord was old, he had 5 protectors behind him. Suzimo took a deep breath and led the way through the other demons. There were many fiend demons in the surroundings that scrutinized Suzimo's group with vicious and evil gazes. Some of the fiend demons extended their grisly red tongues or bared their fangs and claws, hoping to embarrass Suzimo's group into making a fool of themselves. Although it was a short several hundred meters, the Rat King was scared out of his wits and was already drenched with sweat. Even Solitary Cloud felt uneasy and his breathing became hurried, let alone the Rat King. If somebody gave an order for the group of demons to swarm them, they would be shredded into pieces instantly. Among the group, Suzimo was the only one with an indifferent expression and advanced nonchalantly. There was a hint of admiration in the old ape's eyes. This man's boldness was unmatched by everyone around him. An odd sensation rose in Suzimo's heart. There were 2 reasons why the old ape asked them to advance. First, he wanted to check out Suzimo's background. Second, he was interested in Monkey. Before long, Suzimo's group arrived at the raised platform and stood shoulder to shoulder with the 10 great territorial lords. Ingli stood right beside him. Suzimo could clearly sense the vicious gazes coming from the side. Ingli was not the only one. The fiend demons behind him revealed killing intent as well. The old ape glared at Suzimo a while longer and asked, "You are the territorial lord of Howling Moon Mountain?" "Yes," Suzimo replied. The old ape smiled. "You must be quite capable to become a territorial lord as a low-level fiend demon. Very well, you have a bright future ahead of you." "You're being too kind, senior." Although he was facing an overlord, Suzimo's attitude was neither servile nor overbearing the entire time. However, Zimo regretted his reply immediately after. The word senior was common in the cultivation world. However, almost no demon would use that term in the world of demons. The sudden mention of the word did seem rather striking. Zimo shifted his gaze, and it was obvious that the old ape was frowning slightly. The demons around might not think much about a small issue as such. However, there was a high chance that the old ape would turn suspicious. He had lived for a long time and was no fool, having experienced countless schemes and storms. Although Zimo was silent, he was reminding himself internally. This was not Howling Moon Mountain, and he had to be careful in the future. So, it's you bunch of ants. Right then, a sneer sounded beside him. Ingli turned around with a cold gaze and said frostily, I remembered warning you guys outside Ape Chatter Ridge earlier on not to let me see you again. Yet, here you are. I guess you guys really wish to die, huh? Insolent. A protector behind the old ape stood out and hollered. The burly man had a pale face without any beard. However, his body was mighty and his eyes were round like bells. With a resounding voice, his holler was filled with overwhelming might. The pale-faced burly man glared at Ingli coldly and said, Do you think you're in a position to speak when the Overlord is speaking? Back down. The demons present were all silent when the Overlord was conversing with someone. Even the protectors present could not interrupt casually, let alone a mid-level fiend demon like Ingli. Ingli was so frightened that he shirked his neck immediately after he was berated by the pale-faced burly man. After all, this was a high-level fiend demon that could squash him to death with a single finger. However, Ingli glanced behind the old ape and suddenly puffed his chest in a spirited manner, asking loudly, As one of the 10 great territorial lords, why can't I speak? This bunch of ants are merely low-level fiend demons. They truly have a death wish coming here to join the crowd. A commotion broke out among the demons present. Earlier on, the old ape praised Zimo's group. Ingli's sudden remark meant that he was belittling the Overlord completely. The old ape seemed to be ignorant towards the fight and slumped deeply into his chair with a lowered head. It was as though he had fallen asleep. The pale-faced, burly man's expression darkened. He glared at a protector not far away before turning back and saying coldly, Ingli, you sure are bold. Who gave you the guts to ignore our Overlord and go against me? It was long rumored that Ingli was blood related to one of the protectors of Ape Chatter Ridge. By the look of things, that rumor should be true. The pale-faced burly man's words were clearly targeted at a protector beside him. The protector lowered his gaze like an old monk in meditation and was motionless, as though he could not hear the pale-faced burly man's accusations. The pale-faced burly man was even more furious and stomped with his feet. The raised platform shook and dust flew everywhere as he glared at Ingli and hollered coldly, You seem like the one with a death wish. An overwhelming might surged forward instantly. The threat of a high-level fiend demon was not something that Ingli could withstand. Blood drained from his face, and he almost knelt on the ground. Linger, that's too serious. Right then, another protector stood out. He waved his robes and easily purged away the pressure that the pale-faced burly man exerted on Ingli. Protector 4, what's the meaning of this? The pale-faced burly man frowned and questioned the protector beside him. The reason why Ingli is so brazen is because someone is backing him up. The Overlord will be disgraced if I don't punish him. What are you getting anxious for when our Overlord hasn't said anything? Another protector remarked indifferently. Fufu, someone must be used to his overbearing ways because his grandpa is the Overlord. That must be why he does not even allow others to speak, another protector said with a strange tone. Protectors 2 and 3, you guys? The pale-faced burly man glared at the few protectors around him in disbelief and trembled with rage. At that point, Zimo was enlightened. The pale-faced burly man was the old ape's grandson and had a direct blood relation with the latter. However, by the look of things, this was far from a mere issue of the Overlord's pride. It seemed like something worse was about to happen to Ape Chatter Ridge. The pale-faced burly man sensed that something was amiss as well and glared at the four protectors around him fiercely, questioning in a stern manner, "What are you guys up to today?" Right then, the protector that said nothing right from the beginning suddenly opened his eyes and a cold glint flashed. He approached the old ape's side and patted the latter on the shoulder gently, sighing, "Overlord, you've grown old." Chapter 839, Decisive to Kill. Chapter 839, Decisive to Kill. You've grown old. Although it was 3 simple words, the demons present felt a chilling intent. In other words, he meant that it was time for the old ape to give up his position. The protector's palm landed on the old ape's shoulder. The old ape was motionless, as though he sensed nothing. The protector was even more composed upon seeing the old ape's reaction and smiled gently. 5,000 years. You've truly been in this position for way too long. All the demons were in an uproar. Suzimo swept his gaze across. Half of the 10 great territorial lords had calm expressions, as though they knew about this earlier on. Yingli was one of them. Although the other half were surprised, they shook their heads in silence. They did not have the strength to interfere in a fight for the Overlord's position. Finally, Suzimo's gaze landed on the old ape. The old ape's long, white brows were slumped at his mouth motionlessly. It was as though he was completely emotionless. Suzimo frowned slightly. The old ape was so calm that it was beguiling. Even if he had given up completely, he should not be this calm. The expression of the pale-faced burly man turned extremely terrible. He pulled the old ape's chair behind him and barked coldly, "Follow the rules if you want to fight for the position of the Overlord. Challenge the Overlord in a one-on-one fight. If you win, his position is naturally yours." "How weak are you to have to bully with numbers?" The protector chuckled. "Your grandpa is old, but I am a little afraid to fight him to the death. After all, I'm the future Overlord of Ape Chatter Ridge. How can I fight to the death with someone that's about to die?" "Coward," the pale-faced burly man sneered. "You want to be the future Overlord of Ape Chatter Ridge when you're so cowardly? How many territorial lords will be willing to follow you?" The protector laughed coldly. "Do you think they're going to follow that old fogey behind you instead of me? Why don't you ask him how long more he has to live? A year? 2? 10? The pale-faced burly man went silent. All these years, he watched personally and helplessly as the old ape aged bit by bit. The pale-faced burly man turned back to the old ape and sighed in his heart before saying, "It's your victory. We don't want this position of the Overlord anymore." With that said, the pale-faced burly man carried the chair and wanted to leave the place with the old ape. "Hold on." Protector 2 blocked the pale-faced burly man's path in a flash and asked indifferently, "Who gave you permission to leave? What are you doing?" The pale-faced burly man glared furiously. "Your grandpa has been the Overlord for so many years and has countless treasures in his possession. Is he going to take them with him to the grave?" Protector 3 smiled gently. "Don't get overboard." The pale-faced burly man's arms shivered and steam puffed from his nose. "Overboard?" Protector 4 said sinisterly, "It's impossible for the 2 of you to leave this place alive today. You cultivated to become a high-level fiend demon at such a young age. There's no guarantee that you won't be a threat in the future if we let you off today." Right then, the old ape suddenly opened his eyes and glared at Protector 1 expressionlessly. "You're bent on killing us?" "That's right, I'm bent." The Protector no longer concealed his killing intent. He had waited for this day for far too long. When the old ape was young and strong, he had no chance of victory. Later on, the old ape aged, but yet, he did not give up on his position. Not only that, the pale-faced burly man was extremely talented, even more so than the old ape. At a young age, he cultivated to become a high-level fiend demon and became one of the protectors. Given the circumstances, the pale-faced burly man would definitely become the next Overlord. However, Protector 1 would never get the chance to ascend to the seat of the Overlord. He was indignant. He wanted to kill the Overlord and the pale-faced burly man while the former was in his twilight years, and the latter had yet to grow further. Ape Chatter Ridge was going to be theirs. The pale-faced burly man panted heavily, and long fur grew on his body layer after layer. He grit his teeth and looked as though he was about to revert to his true form as he snarled, "All the demons can see what you're doing. How can anybody be willing to acknowledge you given your despicable methods?" Ha 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 ha. Protector 1 reared his head in shrill laughter. A moment later, the laughter came to a sudden stop. With a cold expression, Protector 1 gazed around with a tremendous might that enveloped the demons present as he asked with a murderous aura, "Who is unconvinced of my strength?" All the demons lowered their heads. None of them dared to match Protector 1's gaze. Among the 10 great territorial lords, Ingli led 4 others to stand forth. All of them knelt on the ground with one knee and cupped their fists. "We're willing to submit to you." The fiend demons behind the territorial lords naturally knelt down as well. The demons present knelt down one after another when they saw that, yelling, "We're willing to submit." The remaining 5 of the 10 great territorial lords exchanged glances and sighed in silence. Given the pressing circumstances, the 5 of them could only kneel. "I'm unconvinced." Right then, a voice sounded. It was distinct compared to the submissive tone of everyone else and was particularly striking. All the demons turned towards the voice. Even Protector 1's expression changed as he spun around. Most of the demons had already knelt onto the ground, and there were not many that remained standing. Suzimo's group was part of the latter. Monkey shouted furiously, "It's a serious matter if someone wishes to fight for the seat of the Overlord. According to the rules, all you have to do is challenge the Overlord. The Overlord is already in his twilight years, but you don't even have the courage to do that. Yet, you wish to take over his position? Tui." Perhaps it was because he felt pity for the old ape in his twilight years. Perhaps it was because they were from the same race, but Monkey could not take it a long time ago. He pointed at Protector 1 and yelled, "Furthermore, they've already given up on the position of the Overlord, and yet you're still bent on killing them? Although I love to fight, I would definitely not bully the old and the weak. I'm not shameless enough to do that." The Spirit Tiger and the others felt cathartic when they heard that. However, they also knew that Monkey had caused huge trouble with that. He was accusing a high-level fiend demon. Furthermore, this was an existence that was about to become an Overlord. Suzimo said nothing. Since Monkey had already made a decision, he would definitely be on Monkey's side unconditionally. "You have a death wish." The Protector's expression turned steely, and he was enraged. Ingli, who was kneeling on the ground, suddenly leaped up and glared at Monkey viciously. "Uncle, there's no need to get angry. Leave those ants to me." "You're unconvinced?" Ingli strode over slowly and sneered as though he had heard the greatest joke in the world. "What rights does a low-level fiend demon like you have?" Swash. Suddenly, Ingli's vision blurred and a figure flashed past him. Before he could react, he felt a sharp pain in his head. Immediately after, his consciousness blackened and he never woke up ever again. Thump. Ingli's corpse fell onto the ground. His head was crushed and his essence spirit was destroyed. All the demons were in an uproar. Ingli's head was smashed by a punch before he could finish his sentence. It was the Territorial Lord of Howling Moon Mountain. The demons looked at the green-colored figure in shock, as though they had seen a ghost. Given the immensely tense situation where nobody dared to move, the Territorial Lord of Howling Moon Mountain attacked all of a sudden and killed Ingli, who was one of the 10 great Territorial Lords. Even the old ape on the raised platform was momentarily stunned, let alone the demon beasts beneath. Thereafter, he gave a nod of acknowledgement. Indeed, Suzimo was the one that attacked. He was decisive to kill. Since he had already decided on his faction, the way to resolve the issue was through lightning attacks instead of talking needlessly. Furthermore, he had had enough of Ingli a long time ago. Chapter 840 Pretense. Chapter 840 Pretense. Ingli's death was truly unjust. That was the thought that crossed the minds of the demons present. Even Ingli himself would not have expected Suzimo to make a move and kill him right in front of high-level fiend demons. He was completely unguarded. "How dare you?" A fiend demon closest to Suzimo hollered with a menacing expression and was about to revert to his true form and charge forward. Unexpectedly, Suzimo swung his arm in reverse without even turning to look. His arm was like a divine whip, letting out a loud crack as it tore through the air. Although it looked limp and weak, the arm released a frightening killing power when it made contact with the fiend demon's head. The arm coiled and wrapped itself around the head of the fiend demon. Snap! The fiend demon's head had just transformed into a wolf's head when his neck was snapped forcefully by Suzimo. His entire head was taken off. The wolf head was disfigured, and the essence spirit within was crushed instantly. Demon beasts could complete the transformation to their true forms almost instantaneously. However, the two of them were way too close, and that single instant was enough for Suzimo to make the kill. In the blink of an eye, two fiend demons had died in Suzimo's hands. At that moment, all the demons present finally realized. Although the Territorial Lord of Howling Moon Mountain was a low-level fiend demon, he was indeed capable. At the very least, his decisiveness to kill was something that not many of the demons present could match. "Kill that bunch of ants. Any fiend demon that follows me will be rewarded after today." Protector 1 had a cold gaze and waved to lay down the order. No matter what, the main targets for the four of them protectors were the old ape and pale-faced burly man. Roar! Groar! Demonic chi was torrential on the ground as a series of roars echoed. The demons were fervent upon hearing the orders of Protector 1. "Don't freeze there, move." Suzimo nudged Monkey and hollered in a low voice. Monkey reacted instantly and retrieved Imminent from his storage bag. He thumped his chest and stood his ground, knocking back all incoming demons with a single sweep of Imminent. Although Monkey was also a low-level fiend demon, he could fight against ordinary mid-level fiend demons with Imminent in his possession. Solitary Cloud let out a deep roar and reverted to his true form. His long WIRM body was lined with scales that shone with a divine light as he soared into the air. The claws beneath his abdomen were sharp, and the voids quaked when his tail swayed. It was clear that his combat strength was more frightening than it was 100 years ago. The spirit demon let out a deep growl and transformed into a massive body. He lunged into the crowd and extended his claws, pouncing on a fiend demon at the front. "You have a death wish, low-level fiend demon." The fiend demon sneered in contempt and channeled his dermic powers. He created a chilling saber and slashed it at the spirit tiger's head. Clang! For incomparably sharp claws protruded from the spirit tiger's paw. They were shiny like white jade and were even sharper. Clang! Two tiger claws crossed and snapped the saber. Thereafter, the spirit tiger lunged forward and punctured the fiend demon's head with his claws, destroying the latter's essence spirit. The massive body of the fiend demon fell into a blood puddle with a look of grievance on his face. Ching Ching spread her lips gently and summoned her azure-green feather fan. She injected the power of her essence spirit into the fan and channeled dermic powers. The fan expanded with the wind, and green jade-colored flames ignited on its surface, causing the temperature in the surroundings to rise. Swoosh! Ching Ching fanned in a powerful motion. A ball of jade-green flames burst forward and engulfed three fiend demons. The flames were extremely powerful, and the three fiend demons howled in pain. However, they could not extinguish the flames no matter how they tried. The three fiend demons were impressive, as well as they made the tough decision of spitting out a huge mouthful of essence blood on their own bodies. Shing! The flames were extinguished instantly and smoke billowed. Ching Ching lamented internally. Unfortunately, they were a major cultivation realm apart. If they were low-level fiend demons, they would not be able to withstand the power of the jade-green flames at all. Even so, the flesh of the three fiend demons were split from burns, and they looked extremely wretched. There were fiend demons that could not endure it a long time ago and released spirit consciousness attacks at Monkey and the others. Bang! Little Fox released her palm, and a pitch-black umbrella opened up. It swiveled slowly and emanated a boundless dark light that blocked all of the incoming spirit consciousness attacks. The pitch-black umbrella was a rare essence spirit dermic weapon. However, the difference in their cultivation realms was too great, and Little Fox was already struggling to block a few spirit consciousness attacks. Thankfully, most of the fiend demons were drawn over by Suzimo alone. Otherwise, if the demons focused their strength and launched attacks on Monkey and the others, they would definitely not be able to last long. Suzimo barged through the crowd with overwhelming blood chi, and no fiend demon could defend against the power of his physique. Furthermore, half of his attention was on the raised platform. Although he was the first to make a move, it did not mean that he had lost his cool. Suzimo was extremely clear about that. The main battlefield of this internal strife of Ape Chatter Ridge was on the raised platform. Their strength was not enough to decide the tides of the situation. Naturally, everything would be joyous if the old ape side could win. However, if the old ape and pale-faced burly man fell, they would be next in line. Even he had no shot at victory against high-level fiend demons. That was the reason why Suzimo was focused on the situation at the raised platform despite the intense slaughtering. If something went wrong, he would take advantage of the chaos and kill his way out with Monkey and the others. On the raised platform, both parties had yet to strike. Originally, Protector 1 was extremely confident. However, for some unknown reason, when he met with the old ape's hazy eyes earlier on, he felt his heart race. The other three protectors looked evidently uneasy as well. Protector 1 did not make a move. Suddenly, he felt frustrated at the chaotic battlefield happening beneath. Why weren't a few low-level fiend demons settled yet? Nothing seemed to be happening smoothly today. Why are you still waiting at this moment? Aren't you going to make a move? Right then, the old ape spoke with a calm, emotionless tone. Hee. Protector 1 gave a dry chuckle. I've waited for this moment for such a long time. A little more won't make a difference. Oh. The old ape nodded. If you're not going to make a move, I am. He rose slowly before his sentence was completed. Although it was merely a simple action of rising, he gave off a supremely frightening aura that suppressed all the demons, enveloping the skies of Ape Chatter Ridge instantly. You. Protector 1's eyes were widened as he glared at the old ape in disbelief. Although the old ape was aged, his aura was still sharp and powerful as ever. It seemed no different from when he was at his peak. You were pretending? Protector 1's expression changed as he struggled to utter. The cloudiness of the old ape's eyes had vanished entirely. His blood chi surged and circulated endlessly. The slumped white brows of the old ape moved gently and were already dyed red. It was grisly scarlet. The blood chi was circulated to its limits and had even reached the end of his brows. There was no hint of age from his robust blood chi. Grandpa, you are fine? The pale-faced burly man cheered and was overjoyed. Old fogey, you sure are crafty. You even hid the truth from your kin. Protector 1 had a vengeful gaze as he grit his teeth and snarled. If I didn't do that, how would I have seen through your facade? The old ape thumped his chest and released a deafening roar with a torrential killing intent. Before his roar ended, he took a step forward and struck all of a sudden. Chapter 841, Barren. Chapter 841, Barren. The old ape's attack engulfed the four protectors, and his blood chi rose with a tough steeliness. His rough, massive hands seemed like they could blanket the skies as they slammed down. Everyone, we've got no way back. Protector 1 shrieked. If we retreat now, this old fogey will not let us off. We must combine our strength and kill him. Kill. The four protectors moved at the same time and stepped forward to defend. Boom. There was a deafening sound. The raised platform collapsed instantly. The four protectors fell and transformed into gigantic figures during their descent. Among them, Protector 1 was an ancient remnant beast, the green-winged eagle. Innate divine powers. Protector 1 did not test the waters and released his innate divine powers instantly. His massive wings flapped and he transformed into a streak of light, vanishing in front of the old ape right away. He wrapped around the ladder and charged towards the pale-faced burly man. The pale-faced burly man was alarmed. Although he was also one of the protectors, he had advanced into a high-level fiend demon not long ago and was inferior in combat strength to these fiend demons who had cultivated for thousands of years. Roar! The pale-faced burly man stomped his feet and released a ferocious strength from within his body as well. Boom! The pale-faced burly man raised his fist and punched violently towards the incoming streak of light. The force of his strike caused the entire void to cave in. A sneer sounded behind the pale-faced burly man. Not good. The pale-faced burly man's heart sank. The terror of Protector 1's innate divine powers and his speed had grown to such an extent. With a single move, they were now on the brink of life and death. The pale-faced burly man felt a sharp pain behind his head. If he harbored attachments towards his physical body at that moment, there was a chance that both his body and essence spirit would be destroyed together. His only shot at survival was to abandon his physical body and escape with his essence spirit. All of a sudden, the sensation of pain behind his head vanished all of a sudden. Protector 1 shrieked shrilly. Unknowingly, the old ape was already standing beside the pale-faced burly man and knocked Protector 1 back with a single punch. The pale-faced burly man had barely scraped through the gates of death. Old fogey, prepare to die. The other three protectors charged over and released their divine powers one after another as well. You must have a death wish. The old ape's gaze intensified and an incomparably overwhelming power surged forth. His innate divine powers were released. The old ape took a deep breath and his arm expanded as he threw 3 punches in succession, making contact with the 3 protectors at almost the same time. It was 1 against 3. The sound of bones cracking echoed. One of the protector's arms was ruptured by a punch from the old ape and blood spewed everywhere. His entire arm was crippled. The other 2 protectors were stricken as well, and the blood chi within their bodies rumbled. Unable to withstand it, both of them spat out a huge mouthful of blood. In that exchange, it was clear that the old ape's divine powers surpassed the 3 protectors. Sure. A streak of light flew over. The old ape extended his palm and grabbed the void directly without even looking. The streak of light stopped. Protector 1's figure was exposed. He opened his mouth and spat out a dark light that expanded along with the wind, transforming into a black spear that shot towards the old ape's face. The 2 of them were extremely close, and that attack came without warning. Although the old ape was aged, his reaction was swift and decisive. He released his grip and retreated instantly, grabbing the incoming spear in his palm. Protector 1 seized the opportunity to escape. You're still trying to escape? The old ape's gaze swept across as he thrust the spear in his hand in the direction of Protector 1 violently. Poof! Bloodlight flashed through the voids. Protector 1 tried his best to dodge, but his wings were punctured by his own long spear, and countless feathers fell. None of you shall leave today. The old ape chased forward in huge strides. Suzimo was no longer worried when he saw that. Initially, he had the intention to kill his way out of this place with Monkey and the others if anything went wrong. But now, it was clear that the old ape's combat strength was frightening. He suppressed the internal strife instantly. This was the capability of an overlord. This was the grandeur of an overlord. Within a short dozen of breaths, the 4 protectors were all injured, and it seemed like none of them would last long if things carried on. Relieved, Suzimo's glabella shone, and he continued to conjure hand seals. He did not dare to release dermic arts of the immortal or Buddhist Daos with an overlord near him. The dermic art that he released was not from the Purple Thunder Manual or Great Day Rulai Sutra either. Instantly, his hand seal was done. With Suzimo's body as the centrifugal point, sinister dermic powers spread through the surroundings with gray-colored ripples appearing in the void. It rippled in every direction like a wave of water. The Een Spirit section of the Mystic Classic of the 12 Demon Kings of the Great Wilderness had no dermic arts, merely a spirit refinement technique. There was a dermic art and an essence spirit secret skill in the Yang Spirit section. According to the records, these two secret skills were the most frightening killing moves. Right now, what Su Zimo released was the dermic art, Barren. The fiend demons charging over were enveloped by the gray-colored ripples, and their movements became immensely sluggish instantly, as though they had fallen into a swamp and could not get out. However, none of the demons felt any discomfort when the gray-colored ripples passed through them. Su Zimo furrowed his brows slightly. Barren, the dermic art, did not seem like it possessed any power and could merely restrict the movements and speed of cultivators. To begin with, Su Zimo was at the Een Spirit realm, and he was ahead of himself to cultivate this dermic art. Furthermore, there were many mysterious words in the Yang Spirit section's dermic art and essence spirit secret skill that he could not comprehend. As such, he had yet to grasp the true essence of the two secret skills. He believed that this was definitely not Barren's true power. Su Zimo swept his gaze across, and his expression changed all of a sudden. The spirit herbs on the ground where the gray-colored ripples blanketed were withering at a speed visible to the naked eye. Fresh flowers withered instantly. This is... Su Zimo's pupils constricted. Suddenly, the fiend demons closest to him shrieked. "This is bad. My lifespan is decreasing rapidly. I'm losing 100 years with a single breath. What a frightening speed. I'm losing 60 years with every breath. What is this demonic art?" The lifespans of these fiend demons were decreasing by 60 or 100 years with every single breath. Su Zimo's eyes lit up. That was the true power of Barren. Furthermore, the closer he was to them, the more their lifespans would decrease. 4 mid-level fiend demons with several thousand years worth of lifespan. The decrease of 100 years per second was not that significant. However, the deterioration was continuous. Their lifespans would decrease continuously as long as they did not get out of Barren's area of effect. Furthermore, it was irreversible. Even if they managed to escape after losing 100 years of lifespan, their 100 years won't return to them. What a frightening dermic art. Su Zimo felt his own heart racing furiously. His cultivation realm was too low, and he did not recognize many of the mysterious words in Barren, nor could he release its true power. If he could understand the obscurities of Barren, how frightening would this dermic art be? 1,000 years with a single breath? If he could reach that level, he could kill a void reversion stealthily within 5 breaths. As Su Zimo pondered, he heard a few yells from the other side of the battlefield. Huh? Why is my lifespan decreasing? What are these gray-colored ripples? Instinctively, Su Zimo turned over and could not help but shudder. Unknowingly, the gray-colored ripples had already extended to the raised platform and enveloped the protectors, Old Ape and pale-faced burly man. Those were high-level fiend demons that were equivalent to Dharma characteristics of the human race. Their lifespans were decreasing as well. The power of Barren was something that even Dharma characteristics could not defend against. Chapter 842, Closer Relationship. Chapter 842, Closer Relationship. The power of Barren was strongest around its center. Its strength decreased along with distance. By the time the gray-colored ripples extended to the Old Ape and the others, its shaving of one's lifespan was almost negligible. A single breath might only lead to a decrease of a few mere years. However, a dermic art that could reduce one's lifespan that even high-level fiend demons could not defend against was indeed rather frightening. It was especially so for the Old Ape. Although his combat strength was still present and his blood chi was robust, it was indeed true that he did not have much lifespan remaining. The reduction of lifespan was an extremely sensitive matter for him. He was about to charge forward and kill the 4 protectors when his expression changed all of a sudden. With a single leap, the Old Ape fled from the radius of the gray-colored ripples. He glared at Su Zimo's side with a conflicted expression and boundless shock within his eyes. He was truly alarmed by that move. As an overlord who had lived for thousands of years, he had witnessed many different situations. Even the betrayal of his four protectors did not manage to shock him. However, he was truly startled by this lesser low-level fiend demon before him. If Suzimo had not stood on his side from the get-go, he would have thought that Suzimo was sent by the four protectors to target him. The dermic art did not pose any fatal threat to high-level fiend demons. However, the fact that it was able to affect high-level fiend demons that were two major cultivation realms above and forcibly reduce their lifespans was frightening enough. This was beyond the capability of ordinary dermic arts. Suzimo was momentarily stunned and snapped out of his stupor when he saw the old ape's gaze. Whoosh! With a single thought from Suzimo, the gray-colored ripples vanished. The moment he stopped Barren, he felt giddy and waves of fatigue spread through his body. The scarlet-haired spirit had dimmed considerably as well. Although the might of the dermic art was terrifying, its toll on the essence spirit was way too shocking. His cultivation realm was not sufficient to handle it. The situation would improve significantly if he could cultivate to the yang spirit realm. The old ape heaved a sigh of relief with the removal of the sinister gray-colored ripples. He leaped into the air and extended his palm towards Protector One in midair. Protector One came to his senses and fled as well. Roar! The old ape opened his mouth and let out a roar. His glabella shone and released a burst of golden light that shot the back of Protector One's head. It was an essence spirit secret skill. Protector One was impressive as well as he focused his essence spirit right away and released a sharp spirit consciousness shockwave with his glabella, forming a single green feather in midair. Sure! The green feather tore through the air. In a flash, the golden light and green feather collided. It was completely silent. After a momentary pause, the green feather evaporated and the golden light spilled through the voids, scattering as golden spots. Among them, dozens of golden spots shot into the back of Protector One's head and charged into the latter's spirit consciousness, creating waves. Ah! Protector One howled in pain from the impact to his essence spirit and shuddered, nearly falling from the air. The aura of death composed him as he endured the immense pain and continued fleeing forward. However, that single moment of delay was enough. The old ape had caught up to him. Boom! A gigantic palm crushed down with a terrifying might like a meteor, and explosions could be heard through the air. Protector One slapped his storage bag and withdrew a dermic weapon once again. Rise! He bit the tip of his tongue and spat a mouthful of essence blood on the dermic weapon. The dermic weapon expanded swiftly and looked like the bone fragment of a demon beast. It was incomparably tough as he held it above his head as a shield. Bang! The palm descended and smashed against the bone fragment violently. Snap! The bone fragment exploded. Protector One spat out a huge mouthful of blood as though he was struck by thunder. The old ape advanced swiftly and extended his heavenly encompassing palm once again. He grabbed Protector One's head and squeezed forcefully. Protector One's head exploded like a watermelon and blood filled the skies. His essence spirit was destroyed. A high-level fiend demon had fallen. The old ape turned around and chased the remaining three men. It was too fast. Although they were both high-level fiend demons, Protector One was almost helpless against the old ape who seemed like he was in his twilight years. Within a few blows, his head was ruptured. At Protector One's point of death, one of the remaining protectors was severely injured and had just risen, while another was held back by the pale-faced burly man. The last one did not manage to escape far before the old ape caught up to him. When Suzimo saw that, he knew that the battle was already over. The demons present realized it as well. Some of them stopped, some of them fled, while some of them began to help Suzimo's side. The tides had turned completely. Suzimo had already stopped. He no longer had anything to do with everything here, and he stood on the spot as he tried to recall the sensation of Barren once again. He comprehended and practiced it continuously. A long time later, the chaotic sounds of the massacre gradually quietened. Territorial Lord of Howling Moon Mountain, what's your name? A voice sounded in Suzimo's ears, but he did not seem to realize it. He only snapped to his senses when Solitary Cloud nudged him gently and turned around to look. The battle was already over. The ground around him was strewn with corpses and fresh blood was everywhere. It was a tragic sight. Many fiend demons were cleaning up the battlefield. The old ape stood not far away with a few corpses beneath his feet. By the look of it, those were the fallen protectors. The one who asked the question was the pale-faced burly man beside the old ape. "I'm Imo," Suzimo replied. "What's your true form? Why can't I see through you?" The pale-faced burly man sized up Suzimo brazenly and asked another question. Suzimo remained silent. This was a question that he could not reply. Upon Suzimo's silence, the pale-faced burly man frowned. He was about to fly into a rage when the old ape beside him coughed gently. "Linger, there's no need to ask." The old ape waved it off and looked at Suzimo deeply. "I believe that your true form is definitely an extraordinary creature since you're able to have a WYRM submit to you wholeheartedly." Suzimo smiled and did not reply. The spirit tiger at the side looked at the pale-faced burly man and rolled his eyes as he sent a voice transmission mentally. "He looks like a brute, but his name is Linger. How disgusting." "You guys come." The old ape beckoned. Suzimo's group headed over. The old ape swept his gaze across Suzimo's group before fixing it on Monkey's shoulders eventually. "The rod on your shoulders, can I have a look at it?" The spirit tiger and the others became nervous instantly. Could that old fogey have taken a liking to Brother Monkey's imminent? Monkey handed it over without a second thought. Although he was prideful and untamed, he had principles. If others showed him respect, he would extend the same and even more in return. Despite his status as an overlord, the old ape made a request to Monkey instead of demanding it directly. That fact alone gave Monkey good vibes. The old ape received the rod and sized it up for a long time. In between, he glanced at Monkey from time to time and nodded as he murmured, "Very nice, very nice." Everyone was confused. They did not know if the old ape was referring to Imminent or Monkey. For some unknown reason, Monkey felt goosebumps from the old ape's gaze. Others might not have been able to sense it, but Monkey had a feeling that the way the old ape looked at him implied something. "This rod is not bad at all." The old ape returned Imminent to Monkey and smiled with a benevolent expression. "Since you are of the same race, feel free to look for Linger in the future if you've got any questions regarding your cultivation in the future. The two of you can build a closer relationship." Instantly, the expressions of Suzimo's group turned odd when they heard that. Chapter 843, Stars and Daylight. Chapter 843, Stars and Daylight. Monkey's expression froze. Closer relationship? He did not know if he was hearing things, or if the old ape had said it by mistake. What relationship was there to build between him and the pale-faced burly man? Monkey thought about it more carefully and chills ran down his spine. Immediately after, a startling scene unfolded. A rare blush appeared on the pale-faced burly man's face and he stomped his feet gently, pulling the old ape's arm and wheedling, "Grandpa, what are you talking about?" "I don't want to." The expressions of Suzimo's group changed and their stomachs churned as though they were about to regurgitate something out. "Pooey." The spirit tiger could stand it and turned to puke with a pale expression. The spirit tiger looked at the furious pale-faced burly man and waved it off hurriedly. Sorry. It was too much. I couldn't keep it in." "If you can't keep it in, swallow it again." The pale-faced burly man ground his teeth and said angrily. "Pooey." The spirit tiger cursed internally when he heard that. That sounds even more disgusting. He turned and vomited again. The pale-faced burly man raised his brows and was about to get furious again. Immediately, the spirit tiger's expression changed as he begged, "Brother, please don't do this. I truly can't take it anymore." The pale-faced burly man was enraged and charged forward, wanting to teach the spirit tiger a lesson. The spirit tiger realized that he was in a bad situation and hid behind Monkey in a flash. Brother, you should spend your time building a closer relationship with Brother Monkey instead, since you guys are of the same race. Monkey shuddered in shock as well. He was fearless in his day-to-day actions, but now he was scared out of his wits by a random statement from the old ape. The old ape coughed gently and chuckled before saying indifferently, "There must be some misunderstanding here." "It's a grave misunderstanding," the spirit tiger mumbled. Monkey nodded hurriedly. For the first time, he agreed with the spirit tiger and felt that the latter was extremely cute. In fact, he was even pondering if he should treat the spirit tiger better in the future. The old ape pulled the pale-faced, burly man to his side and explained, "Let me reintroduce you guys. This is Yuan Linger, my granddaughter. She's more tomboyish, but she's a woman." Everyone's mouth fell agape, and they were petrified. "You're a female?" The spirit tiger's jaws nearly dropped to the ground as he blurted. Yuan Linger was so furious that she charged forward and pulled the spirit tiger out by his legs, smashing the latter onto the ground violently. Su Zimo was about to step in. However, something stirred in his heart. He sensed that although Yuan Linger was furious, she knew her limits and was not actually hurting the spirit tiger for real. "Vomit more. Vomit more." Yuan Linger was furious and chanted repeatedly. Bang, bang, bang. In the blink of an eye, a huge crater appeared on the ground. The spirit tiger laid limply within with his legs facing the skies. His face was bruised as he sobbed innocently. "What has this got to do with me? Why are you whacking me?" Ching Ching and Little Fox were laughing so badly that they rolled over. Yuan Linger was still furious and returned to the old ape's side, saying in a huff, "Grandpa, I get your intention. However, I want to make my own decision for something like this." She glanced askance at Monkey, who was hiding at the side, and pouted her lips in disdain. "A low-level fiend demon is not worthy of me. I'm a high-level fiend demon. Even if you take the initiative to come over to me, I won't even take a second look at you." Initially, Monkey wanted nothing more than to hide. However, when he heard that, he was displeased. "So what if you're a high-level fiend demon?" Monkey sneered. "I've merely cultivated for slightly more than 100 years. If I'm at your age, I would have long been a grand demon that reigns everywhere." "Anybody can brag." Yuan Linger sneered as well. "Even when you get to my age, I can pummel your head until it turns into a pig's head." The expressions of Su Zimo and the others turned odd when they looked at the two of them argue. The old ape stood at the side beaming brightly in satisfaction without saying anything. Yuan Linger pointed at Monkey and said word by word, "Also, you better not provoke me. If you provoke me, I can pummel you right now." Monkey was prideful and hated to be threatened. He raised his arm and shouted, "How cocky! Come on then, let's spar right now. What are you being cocky about, young lady?" "You're asking for it." Yuan Linger gave a stifled laugh. "Come with me. I'll take you somewhere else to spare you the embarrassment." With that said, Yuan Linger led the way. Monkey was hot-blooded and wanted to follow her right away. The spirit tiger crawled out of the pit hurriedly and pulled Monkey by the arm, reminding the latter, "Brother Monkey, don't be reckless. She's a high-leveled. Don't worry, I'll help you get even with her." Monkey waved it off suavely and followed behind Yuan Linger. The two of them entered a pitch-black cave and disappeared before long. When he saw that, Su Zimo broke out into laughter. Although he was praised by the old ape from time to time, he noticed a long time ago that the old ape truly had his eyes set on Monkey. Su Zimo did not know the exact reason. However, it was definitely not merely because they were from the same race. Su Zimo guessed that there was a high chance it had something to do with Monkey's bloodline. Monkey's bloodline was extremely strong. Among the 7 sworn siblings, Monkey was the strongest apart from Su Zimo and Night Spirit. Furthermore, there was something strange about the fact that Dai Yu imparted the Tendon's transformation section of the Mystic Classic of the 12 Demon Kings of the Great Wilderness to Monkey. Bang, bang, bang. In the cave not far away, the sound of fierce collisions echoed. It sounded extremely intense. However, everything subsided before long. Immediately after, Yuan Linger came out in a carefree manner. Her expression was normal, and her breathing was steady. She tidied her attire, puffed her chest, and walked to the old ape's side without looking at everyone else present. "Grandpa, let's go." The old ape smiled and said to Suzimo, "You guys can stay in Ape Chatter Ridge for a period of time. There's no need to rush. 7 days later, I'll take you guys along to the 1,000-year Blood Sea to take part in the 1,000-demon meet." "Thank you, Overlord." Suzimo's group expressed their gratitude with cupped fists. Right then, a figure exited the cave. Monkey swayed and stumbled from side to side with a bruised face that resembled a pig's head. He looked extremely wretched. Everything had its counter. It was a rare sight to see Monkey at a loss, and the spirit tiger and the others were amused when they saw the injuries on Monkey's face. Monkey sensed everyone's gazes and gave a gentle cough. "As you guys expected, I had a massive fight with that young lass and things ended in a tie." Ching Ching and Little Fox were dumbfounded. The spirit tiger rolled his eyes and nearly spat out blood. "How is this a tie?" The spirit tiger laughed gloatingly. "Brother Monkey, stop acting. What do you mean get even for me? You were walloped by her, weren't you? Ha." Monkey's expression darkened. The spirit tiger did not notice the killing intent and lamented to himself, "Actually, the two of us suffer from the same fate. Although I was pummeled badly, thankfully, you're here to accompany me as well. Hey, why are you hitting me?" Before the spirit tiger could finish, Monkey whisked the former and smashed him onto the ground again. Bang, bang, bang. Another huge pit appeared on the ground. The spirit tiger laid limply within with tears streaming down his face and no attachments to life left. Everyone burst into laughter. Right then, stars appeared one after another in the distant horizons. They shifted continuously with a chaotic trajectory. It was as though an invisible pair of hands were rearranging the stars in the skies. Suzimo stopped laughing and frowned, murmuring to himself, "Stars in daylight?" Chapter 844, Blood-Colored Human Face. Chapter 844, Blood-Colored Human Face. The old ape had not gone far and noticed this as well. He paused in his tracks and gazed at it with a grim expression. By now, night was gone and the skies were clear and bright. However, ancient stars appeared one after another in the distant horizons, flashing in a chaotic, imperceivable manner. "Grandpa, what's happening?" Yuan Linger had only cultivated for a short period of time, and could not help but ask as she had never witnessed a scene as bewildering as such. "I've never encountered a universal phenomenon as such either." The old ape shook his head and said slowly, "I gather that something big must have happened in this world. This matter must be so great that stars are appearing in daytime, and the constellations have gone into chaos. What could it be?" Yuan Linger pressed. "It's hard to tell." The old ape replied, "It might be the birth of a treasure, a secret skill, or the attainment of the Tao by a grand demon. In fact, universal phenomenons can even happen if peerless experts are born or have fallen. I heard that when the emperor of Fahua Monastery died in the catastrophe of the North region 10,000 years ago, a universal phenomenon occurred. Even the universe wept over the death of an emperor." The old ape said sadly, "It was said that multiple Buddhas appeared in the skies that day and heavenly flowers fell. The ground was laid with golden lotuses and Sanskrit echoed through the world for an extremely long time." Yuan Linger had a shocked expression. The old ape lamented, "When you cultivate to the level where you are respected by all, there is nothing to regret in life any longer." A moment later, the old ape continued to stare at the stars in the skies and frowned. Judging from the location, the stars seemed to be extremely close to the 1,000-year Blood Sea. Could the two be connected? 7 days later, many demons gathered at Ape Chatter Ridge. There were close to 1,000 and all of them were mid-level fiend demons. Suzimo's group was among them as well. Although they were mostly low-level fiend demons and stood out from the crowd, there was no look of contempt in the eyes of the demons present. The memories of the battle 7 days ago were still fresh in their minds. There was a hint of cautiousness in the eyes of the demons present when they looked at the scarlet-haired man at the front. Not long after, the old ape appeared with Yuan Linger. Prepare to move. The old ape did not waste time on speaking, and his glabella shone to release a massive spirit consciousness. He waved his robes and a huge, dark cloud gathered in front of him. The dark cloud extended. In the blink of an eye, the dark cloud enveloped all the demons present. All of you, relax your minds. Don't resist it. The old ape's voice sounded. Immediately after, the demons felt zero gravity and floated into the air. In the blink of an eye, they departed Ape Chatter Ridge and sped into the distant horizons. The sound of the wind howled by their ears. Judging from their speed, the demons could arrive at their destination in less than 3 days. Suzimo nodded to himself. An overlord was capable indeed. He definitely required boundless dermic powers to support the dark cloud that could carry more than 1,000 fiend demons and yet maintain that frightening speed. As Suzimo pondered, the voice of the old ape echoed in his mind. It was a direct voice transmission to him from the latter. "Imo, I'm sure the reason why you wish to take part in the 1,000-demon meet is because you want to fight for a spot to enter the 1,000-year blood sea to cultivate, right?" Suzimo replied with a voice transmission, "Of course." With 7 overlords gathered at the 1,000-demon meet, it was unsuitable for him to release many methods of human cultivators. However, he believed that with his current strength, he could fight against most mid-level fiend demons even without using his black-haired essence spirit. At the very least, Suzimo was convinced that he could suppress everyone in melee combat using the power of his physique. That's probably going to be difficult. The old ape said, "I've witnessed your capabilities before. Indeed, your body is strong, and you are even more fearsome in melee combat." With a few words, the old ape recognized Suzimo's specialties. Immediately after, he changed the topic. "However, there are only 10 spots available to enter the 1,000-year blood sea. If you wish to obtain one of them, you have to go through 2 trials and you're unable to pass the first." "Huh?" Suzimo asked, "What's the first trial about?" "Simply put, the first trial is a test of an essence spirit strength." The old ape explained, "The chance to cultivate in the 1,000-year blood sea is rare and only comes once every 1,000 years. Furthermore, there are only 10 spots available each time. That is why we will select the strongest mid-level fiend demons to enter and cultivate within. With that, we have the possibility of grooming high-level fiend demons." At that point, Suzimo frowned slightly and asked, "How do we determine the strength of one's essence spirit? A fight between the essence spirits?" Fights between essence spirits were the most dangerous. Any single mistake could lead to one's death. No fiend demon would dare to attempt it casually. After all, if they damaged their essence spirits just to fight for a spot to cultivate, the cons would outweigh the pros. "There's no need for that." The old ape shook his head. "The trial of an essence spirit strength is simple. We'll just compare the radius one's spirit consciousness can cover." Suzimo froze momentarily when he heard that. 4 low-level fiend demons, the range of their spirit consciousnesses starts from 5 kilometers, and their limit is 50 kilometers. However, the range of the spirit consciousness of mid-level fiend demons starts from 50 kilometers and can extend to 500 kilometers. The old ape said, "You're a low-level fiend demon that hasn't cultivated to the peak. Even if you're a low-level fiend demon at the peak, your spirit consciousness won't be able to extend further than 50 kilometers. Moreover, you have to understand that the ones fighting for the spots to cultivate in the Blood Sea are all territorial lords who are mid-level fiend demons. There's no way you can compete against them for this trial." Suzimo smiled and replied nonchalantly, "Not necessarily." The old ape exclaimed softly. He could tell that Suzimo was implying something. He went silent for a moment and did not press further, merely lamenting instead, "It's truly rare for a low-level fiend demon to be able to secure the seat of a territorial lord firmly." 3 days later. Even through the thick, dark cloud, Su Zimo could still sense a faint hint of blood stench. Furthermore, the speed of the dark cloud was gradually decreasing. He realized that they were approaching the 1,000-year blood sea. Not long after, the demons felt the dark cloud turn thinner as their bodies descended. They regained vision once more and gazed downwards. Beneath them was a vast plain that was boundless. On the vast plains, many fiend demons were gathered. Although most of them were in human forms, their demonic chi was torrential and rumbled furiously. Voices roared beneath, and it was bustling. The most striking thing was a region in the center of the vast plains that was incomparably grisly red. The 1,000-year blood sea. The blood sea was not a sea but a lake. However, the surface area of the lake was too huge, and on the ground, one could not see the ends of it. The demons could only see the blood sea in its entirety if they were looking down from midair. Su Zimo took a single glance at the blood sea, and his expression changed. That instant, ripples surfaced on the blood sea and seemed as though they converged to form a human's face within it. It was a blood-colored human face. Furthermore, the face seemed like it was laughing. It was extremely sinister and eerie. Pissed. Su Zimo gasped and shuddered. When he looked at it again, the ripples in the blood sea were gone and its surface was calm. The blood-colored human face disappeared as well. With a slightly pale expression, Su Zimo glared at the blood sea for a long time. The blood-colored human face did not appear again. It was as though he was merely imagining things earlier. Su Zimo shrugged his head and let out a deep breath before descending with the rest of the demons. Chapter 845. Overlords Gathered. Chapter 845. Overlords Gathered. There were only slightly more than 1,000 fiend demons from Ape Chatter Ridge that came. However, there were several dozen thousands of fiend demons gathered on the vast plains. Furthermore, that number was still increasing. Many demons were gathered for the 1,000-demon meet. It was not only fiend demons from territories. Even fiend demons without any factions were here to join the crowd. On the vast plains beneath, there were 7 distinct divides in the area around the 1,000-year blood sea. The old ape led the group of demons and descended upon one of the divides. Hee hee hee. The moment the demons landed, an odd laughter sounded. Not far away, a scrawny old man with a yellowish face and a goatee said in a strange tone with crossed arms, "Old Yuan, you're still alive?" The goatee old man was surrounded by man-demons like he was the center of attraction. Moreover, although he seemed scrawny, the aura he emanated was extremely sharp and domineering. Humph! The old ape swept his gaze across and sneered, "How can I make a move first before you're dead, old goat?" That's the Overlord of Levitating Goat Peak. Within the crowd, Yuan Linger whispered to Monkey, "This old goat has been at odds with Grandpa for a long time. The two of them fought twice in the past, but the old goat ended in defeat both times." During their stay in Ape Chatter Ridge, Monkey and Yuan Linger fought daily. However, the two of them seemed to have gotten much closer. For things like these, Yuan Linger would take the initiative to inform Monkey about what was going on, but she would not say it to Su Zimo and the others. "This old ape sure is energetic." A voice sounded on the other end not far away. "I heard that an internal strife broke out in Ape Chatter Ridge not too long ago, but this old ape suppressed everything within a few strikes." The person that spoke wore black robes and had a well-shaped body. He sat high and above, glaring coldly below with his lips pursed tightly. The aura he exuded was incomparably fierce. "That's the Overlord of Silvermoon Valley," Yuan Linger whispered. "He is an ancient remnant beast, the Silvermoon Wolf." From what the two of you had just said, Brother Yuan sure is healthy and honed as ever. A beautiful woman wearing a colorful shawl appeared in the area beside Silvermoon Valley. She was flirtatious and said sweetly, "My heart is tingling from the thought of it." Needless to think, only an Overlord would be qualified to speak at such a moment. "Don't look at her." Yuan Linger glared at Monkey sternly and said, "That woman is the Overlord of Thousand Snake Island, and she's extremely cruel." She might gouge your eyes out if you look at her. Tisk. Monkey pouted its lips in disdain. The old ape merely smiled indifferently upon hearing the overlord of Thousand Snake Island's words. Don't refer to me as your brother. At my age, I can even be your grandfather. Brother Yuan, you sure are naughty taking advantage of me like this. The overlord of Thousand Snake Island wheedled, but her eyes shone with a cold glint. Although this woman looked weak and feeble, nobody dared to underestimate her. To become an overlord, one's hands had to be tainted by countless fresh blood, and they had to trample on countless corpses on the way up. Right now, 4 of the 7 overlords had arrived. Suzimo's group looked ordinary within the demons present, and they did not attract much attention. Right then, a golden cloud floated over from the distant skies. Upon closer inspection, thin flames can even be seen burning on the golden clouds. In the blink of an eye, the golden clouds dispersed. Thousands of fiend demons descended. Their leader was a man in golden battle armor with a tall, mighty, and muscular figure. His head was raised, and he had a pair of bull horns as he strode over in a grand manner. Ha 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 ha. The newcomer laughed. Old ape, you're early this time round. If you're free, let's go for a spar. The spirit tiger said in a low voice. Another opponent? Our overlord sure has many enemies. Hell, don't make wild guesses. Yuan Linger remarked, this is the overlord of Golden Flames Mountain, and he's the closest to Grandpa. The old ape chuckled bitterly. Forget it, I'm not going to spar you at my age. Croak, croak. A strange sound echoed from the distant skies. Immediately after, resplendent lights filled the heavens. Countless flower petals scattered with a sweet fragrance. A large group of fiend demons flew through the air, standing on auspicious clouds. In the middle was a majestic carriage that was exquisite and grand. Within, a fatty with a huge tummy laid down. There were dozens of young girls holding flower baskets accompanying the carriage, scattering petals from time to time. Within the carriage, there were even women massaging the fatty's legs and arms while feeding him wine and spirit fruits. It was an enjoyable life. This fatty sure knows how to enjoy himself. The overlord of Golden Flames Mountain scoffed coldly. However, no matter how he hides it, he can't conceal the stench of his body. That's the overlord of Vermilion Cloud Valley, and his true form is an azure eye toad. The azure eye toad, a pure-blooded ferocious beast. It had a pair of azure eyes, and its body was filled with toxic poison, killing anyone that made contact with it. It could devour anything in the world, even the carcass of a fallen dragon. 6 of the 7 overlords have now arrived. The demons did not have to wait for long when a misty cloud appeared in the distant skies in a hazy manner. The mist was extremely powerful, and the demons could not scan it with their spirit consciousnesses. By the time the mist closed in, fiend demons appeared from it one after another. The leader was a man in pitch-black armor that covered even his face and revealed nothing but a pair of eyes that were cold. His eyes were frosty and cruel, sending shivers down the spine of anyone he gazed upon. The overlord of Confusion Mist Swamp had arrived. The true form of Confusion Mist Swamp's overlord was an ancient gigantic crocodile. The 7 overlords from Ape Chatter Ridge, Levitating Goat Peak, Golden Flames Mountain, Vermilion Cloud Valley, Silver Moon Valley, Thousand Snake Island, and Confusion Mist Swamp were all gathered, and they had many high-level fiend demons under their lead as well. It was a grand formation. Massive spirit consciousness fluctuations reverberated through the air, but no sound could be heard. Before long, the 7 overlords left their original positions and convened to discuss something. Suzimo guessed that there was a high chance it had something to do with the stars that were seen in broad daylight previously. Long time no see, everyone from Ape Chatter Ridge. Right then, a few fiend demons from Levitating Goat Peak, Silver Moon Valley, and Thousand Snake Island came over. Their expressions were hostile, and there was a hint of provocation in their eyes. After not seeing you guys for 1,000 years, more than half of your 10 great territorial lords have changed? A skinny man from Levitating Goat Peak surveyed the surroundings and asked with raised brows, Has Ing Li and the others already advanced to become high-level fiend demons? It's possible that they might have cultivated to become grand demons by now. Ha ha ha. The fiend demons of Silvermoon Valley and Thousand Snake Island roared in laughter. They had long heard about the internal strife in Ape Chatter Ridge that resulted in immense losses, with 4 out of 5 protectors dead and many fiend demons injured or slain. Their purpose here was to mock at Ape Chatter Ridge. Nopes. A fiend demon of Ape Chatter Ridge replied sincerely. Ing Li and the others tried to revolt and were killed. Although a few of the 10 great territorial lords were killed, they will naturally be replaced. Replaced? The skinny man from Levitating Goat Peak swept his gaze across the demons of Ape Chatter Ridge. He could not help but laugh as he pointed to Suzimo's group. Don't tell me that you're intending to replace the 10 great territorial lords of Ape Chatter Ridge with these few low-level fiend demons here? Ha ha ha. The demons of Silvermoon Valley and Levitating Goat Peak roared in laughter. For the 1,000 demon meet, the weakest demons that could enter were low-level fiend demons. However, low-level fiend demons were mostly used as slaves to pour and serve tea. The dozen young women around the Overlord of Vermilion Cloud Valley were all low-level fiend demons. Suddenly, the expressions of Ape Chatter Ridge's fiend demons turned odd when they looked at the demons of Levitating Goat Peak pointing at Suzimo. Chapter 846, Provocation. Chapter 846, Provocation. The Overlord of Silvermoon Valley said slowly, "Everyone, what are your thoughts on the appearance of a universal phenomenon in Thousand Demon Valley?" The Overlord of Vermilion Cloud Valley gave a stifled laugh. The other Overlords exchanged glances with calm expressions, but none of them said anything. The 7 Overlords were all several thousand years old. Even if they had their own thoughts about it, they would not let others read them. Silvermoon, what do you mean by that? The Overlord of Confusion Mist Swamp asked with an indifferent expression and a robust voice. The Overlord of Silvermoon Valley smiled gently. The appearance of stars and daylight might be due to the appearance of an ancient ruin or the opening of some secret ground. In any case, it's definitely something major for Thousand Demon Valley. Although there were conflicts between us usually, if an ancient ruin or secret ground has truly opened up, why don't we let go of our past grievances and explore it together? Of course. The Overlord of Thousand Snake Island smiled coyly. I agree with that. The Overlord of Golden Flames Mountain sneered internally at their hypocrisy and asked loudly, "If there is only one utmost treasure, who shall it belong to?" A cold glint flashed through the eyes of all 7 Overlords. At that time, it'll depend on who is stronger. The Overlord of Levitating Goat Peak said coldly. In truth, at the end of the day, even if they worked together, all of them would be guarded against one another and harbor motives of their own. There would definitely be a bloodshed if they caught sight of any utmost treasure. Right then, the old ape sensed something and turned to gaze into the distance. The demons of Ape Chatter Ridge seemed to be encountering some problems. The fiend demons of Levitating Goat Peak, Silvermoon Valley, and Thousand Snake Island were talking to the demons of Ape Chatter Ridge with mocking expressions. "Old man Yuan, let's not interfere in the affairs of the younger generation. Let them continue with their squabbles." The Overlord of Levitating Goat Peak curled his lips with a fake smile. "That's right." The Overlord of Thousand Snake Island added sweetly. "This is the Thousand Demon meet, and it's only normal if there's any conflicts between our underlings. As Overlords, there's no need for us to interfere." The old ape had an odd expression as he asked, "Are you sure we don't need to stop them?" "Brother Yuan, let's continue chatting. Why should we bother about a conflict between the younger generation?" The Overlord of Silvermoon Valley chuckled. "Oh." The old ape nodded expressionlessly. The Overlord of Golden Flames Mountain was the closest to the old ape and knew that Ape Chatter Ridge suffered an immense loss from the internal strife with more than half of the 10 great territorial lords dead. "Are you sure it's fine?" The Overlord of Golden Flames Mountain sent a voice transmission. "Should I send some of my territorial lords to render some assistance for your guys?" "There's no need." The old ape smiled. We don't know who are going to be the ones getting anxious later on. Hey! The fiend demon of levitating goat Peak pointed at Suzimo's nose arrogantly and berated in a loud voice. Don't annoy me by standing here, low-level fiend demons. Scram? Suzimo was expressionless. There was no need for him to make a move for something as such. The three fiend demons before him were not worthy of him making a move. You had better scram. Solitary Cloud stood at the side and said coldly. The fiend demon of levitating goat Peak narrowed his gaze and scanned Solitary Cloud with his spirit consciousness before saying in a strange manner, a WYRM. You want to play hero? How dare a mere goat demon dare to be so cocky? Scram. Solitary Cloud had a cold gaze, and he released a chilling, killing intent to match. A WYRM that has cultivated for less than 1,000 years is no different from a snake. You must have a death wish. The fiend demon of levitating goat Peak had a bright gaze and struck without warning. He was naturally capable since he dared to come and taunt others. He was one of the 10 great territorial lords of levitating goat Peak and was not a nobody. Although he was ranked last, he was not somebody that ordinary fiend demons could compare against. He could tell that Solitary Cloud had cultivated for less than 1,000 years. That was the reason why he dared to attack right away. Solitary Cloud harumphed coldly when the fiend demon of levitating goat Peak threw a punch. He took a step forward and blood chi rumbled as he sent a punch in return as well. Bang! The body of the fiend demon from levitating goat Peak shuddered, and he staggered 3 steps back with a startled expression. If this was Solitary Cloud 100 years ago, he would not have been a match for the 10 great territorial lords, although he was strong. However, cultivating by Suzimo's side for 100 years had been a great boon to him. Kill! The fiend demon of levitating goat Peak advanced once again, and his pitch-black robes fluttered. 2 cold spots of light flashed from within and pierced towards Solitary Cloud's face. Those were 2 spears that moved at an extremely fast speed. Solitary Cloud opened his mouth wide and spat out his WYRM bone scissors. With his spirit consciousness, dermic power surged and the WYRM bone scissors expanded rapidly, cutting towards the 2 incoming spears. 2 WYRMs soared into the air. Snap! The WYRM bone scissors sliced down and cut the 2 spears into 4 parts. The 4 parts fell to the ground and the body of the spear was dim without light. It was completely destroyed by the WYRM bone scissors. How dare you destroy my dermic weapon? The fiend demon of levitating goat Peak was enraged and his glabella shone. Instantly, 2 light spots floated out and expanded swiftly in midair. The 2 spears earlier on were his ordinary dermic weapons. But now, the fiend demon of levitating goat Peak had brought out his life force dermic weapon. It was a pair of shimmering silver sickles with blades that were lined with reversed spikes. It was extremely intimidating. Humph! Solitary Cloud sneered. How dare you embarrass yourself with that useless destiny dermic weapon? Cut it up. He controlled his WYRM bone scissors and 2 WYRMs sword and roared into the air, creating a bright white light. Like 2 searing chains, they coiled around the pair of sickles. Snap! Snap! The WYRM bone scissors cut 3 times in succession. Accompanied with the sound, the pair of sickles snapped instantly. The expression of the fiend demon of levitating goat Peak changed starkly, and he spat out a mouthful of blood as he glared at Solitary Cloud with a hateful expression. Because his mind was connected to the destiny dermic weapon, its destruction resulted in a severe injury for him. He had refined that dermic weapon for more than 2,000 years. Its instant destruction right now was equivalent to 2,000 years' worth of effort wasted. This was a huge blow. Previously, the WYRM bone scissors were destroyed by the bronze square tripod during the battle at Howling Moon Mountain. Later on, Suzimo refined it using the secret skill of the Een Spirit section, and it was restored a long time ago and was even stronger than before. How savage! The fiend demon of Silver Moon Valley had a grim expression and said darkly, "I'll take you on." Solitary Cloud shifted his gaze onto a fiend demon of Thousand Snake Island nearby and sneered, "The two of you can come together. I'll save you the trouble of thinking about how to ambush me sneakily, woman." The fiend demon of Thousand Snake Island was not furious when she was exposed and smiled wryly instead. "I'll graciously accept your demand then." Brazen. The fiend demon of Levitating Goat Peak barked hatefully. Solitary Cloud was brazen to begin with and had always been cocky. However, he reined his character after he was subdued by Su Zimo 100 years ago and followed the latter from day to day. If he was up against others, his true nature would be exposed. As a WYRM, he naturally had the right to be cocky. Ha ha ha. Solitary Cloud burst into laughter. "You don't seem like you're happy too. I'll count you in. Come on. I'll take all of you on." "All right, don't regret this." The fiend demon of Levitating Goat Peak growled and demonic chi rumbled as cracks echoed from within his body. In the blink of an eye, he reverted to his true form. Roar. On the other side, the fiend demon of Silvermoon Valley roared and reverted to his true form as well. The fiend demon of Thousand Snake Island stuck out her tongue that transformed into a snake's forked tongue instantly as she hissed. The three fiend demons did not dare to be reckless and were prepared to fight with all their might as they reverted to their true forms. Chapter 847, Someone's Mount. Chapter 847, Someone's Mount. "Hurry, look, there's a fight there. They're reverting to their true form? What a commotion. What's happening over there?" The Territorial Lords of Silvermoon Valley, Levitating Goat Peak, and Thousand Snake Island started the provocation, and a WYRM of Ape Chatter Ridge took them on. Both sides are now fighting. The demons on the vast plains were attracted to the commotion at the side of Ape Chatter Ridge. What's the background of that WYRM? How can it fight against three people single-handedly? I don't know. I haven't seen him before, so I guess he should be one of the new Territorial Lords of Ape Chatter Ridge. The demons discussed. On the side of Levitating Goat Peak, a gray-haired man assumed a lotus position at the front of the mid-level fiend demons. He had a scrawny appearance and glared coldly at the battlefield not far away. "Young master, this WYRM from Ape Chatter Ridge might be a match for you." The gray-haired man pouted his lips gently in disdain. "This WRM's Tao is shallow, and he is of no threat to me. He might be qualified to fight against me if he cultivates for another 100 years or so." At the side of Silvermoon Valley. "Sir, that WYRM seems troublesome to deal with." A silver-robed man stood at the front of the Territorial Lords with a cold expression as a fiend demon beside him spoke. "No worries." The silver-robed man waved it off. "If they're unable to win, I'll step in personally to subdue that WYRM. If he refuses to submit to me, he can't blame me for crippling him." At the front of Thousand Snake Island, a woman in thick makeup smacked her lips and looked at the WYRM soaring in midair with a cold glint in her eyes. "I wonder what the flesh of a WYRM tastes like," the woman in makeup murmured. A storm brewed on the battlefield. Solitary Cloud did not dare to be overconfident against three Territorial Lords either. He reverted to his true form and his long, muscular figure circled through the voids. Scales lined his body densely. They had become whitish from their initial gray color and emanated a glow. He had a pair of claws beneath his abdomen that were sharp. The most striking thing was a small bump between Solitary Cloud's glabella. 100 years ago, the bump was not very obvious. But now, the bump was easily recognizable. By the time that bump grew and tore from his skin to become a true horn, it would mean that he was about to undergo a complete transformation into a dragon. Roar. Solitary Cloud roared, and his blood chi rumbled with a cold might. The bloodline unique to pure-blooded ferocious beasts created an obvious suppression towards the fiend demons of Levitating Goat Peak, Thousand Snake Island, and Silvermoon Valley. "Kill!" The three fiend demons roared. The fiend demon of Silvermoon Valley brought out a streak of silver light that flashed in midair before disappearing instantly, It flew towards Solitary Cloud's neck at lightning speed. That dermic weapon was created from the scale of an ancient grand demon and was incomparably sharp. It was able to cut through weapons, shave metals, and slice jade. Sure, sure, sure. The fiend demon of Thousand Snake Island opened her mouth and spat out a flurry of oily, green poison needles that enveloped Solitary Cloud. The fiend demon of Levitating Goat Peak took a deep breath. Although his Destiny dermic weapon was destroyed, he had other dermic weapons in his storage bag. Swash! The fiend demon of Levitating Goat Peak brought out a saber that emanated a chilling aura. He tore through the air and sliced down in Solitary Cloud's direction. The three fiend demons had attacked at the same time. Cut it! Solitary Cloud was unfazed and controlled his WYRM bone scissors to cut forward viciously. Snap! The saber of Levitating Goat Peak's fiend demon was snapped again. Bang! Boom! Boom! Solitary Cloud's glabella shone, and he released a shocking dermic art, apocalyptic currents. One after another, raging tides appeared beneath him with a frightening aura and gushed forward. The three fiend demons were stricken. The currents truly possessed an apocalyptic might. Although the bunch of needles from Thousand Snake Island's fiend demon were lethal, they were weak and scattered immediately when they made contact with the currents. Only the disc from Silver Moon Valley's fiend demon managed to tear through the waves and cut Solitary Cloud's body. Although Solitary Cloud tried his best to dodge, he was a tad too slow. A bloodied wound appeared on his body. Thankfully, his body was strong. His blood chi was robust, and the defensive capabilities of his scales were extremely terrifying. Otherwise, Solitary Cloud would have been cut into two by that attack. You have a death wish. Although Solitary Cloud was injured, the three fiend demons were still caught up in his currents. They were exhausted resisting the currents and could not break free right away. Solitary Cloud dove into the currents and vanished instantly. WYRMS specialized in water manipulation and could travel through clouds and create rains. When he entered the currents, he moved even faster, and in the blink of an eye, he had already swam to the fiend demon of Silver Moon Valley and swept his tail viciously. Piak! The fiend demon of Silver Moon Valley was sent flying, and his chest caved in. His robes were ripped in a mess of flesh and blood, looking extremely wretched. There were some clear fluctuations within the currents. Solitary Cloud had sensed them long ago. Not far away, the massive body of the fiend demon of Levitating Goat Peak swam in reverse against the currents as he thrust his sharp horns towards Solitary Cloud. Solitary Cloud soared into the air and extended the claws beneath his abdomen. They shone with a cold, shimmering light as they gripped the spine of Levitating Goat Peak's fiend demon. Blood gushed out rapidly. Solitary Cloud gripped the Levitating Goat Peak's fiend demon's spine and dragged him out of the currents, tossing away his body in a casual manner onto the ground. He smashed onto the ground heavily, and his injuries were so bad that he would require at least dozens of years to recover from it. Solitary Cloud turned his head and avoided the fiend demon of Thousand Snake Island who was trying to bite him. He spun in reverse and chomped down on the waist of Thousand Snake Island's fiend demon. Poof! Solitary Cloud chewed the fiend demon of Thousand Snake Island's body apart right away. Ah! The fiend demon of Thousand Snake Island shrieked. Fresh blood gushed out with a foul stench. The fiend demon of Thousand Snake Island said hatefully, "The blood that flows within my body is poisonous. You won't be able to live long after injuring my body." Humph! Solitary Cloud's eyes flashed with mockery. "Your poisoned blood can't taint my bloodline. I'll be able to purge away the poison after cultivating for a few days." Although he was a WYRM, there was a trace of the dragon race's bloodline within his body after all. That single trace of bloodline from the dragon race was enough to protect his life and provide him with the time to purge the poison from his body. For somebody like Suzimo, poison blood of that level wouldn't even be able to hurt him at all. In the blink of an eye, the three fiend demons were all defeated and seriously injured. All the demons present were shocked. A gray-haired young man from Levitating Goat Peak stood up with a grim expression and headed over. A silver-robed man from Silver Moon Valley moved as well with a cold expression. A woman in makeup from Thousand Snake Island strode over. Look, this has caught the attention of the young master of Levitating Goat Peak. That is the #1 Territorial Lord of Silver Moon Valley. The peerless beauty of Thousand Snake Island has appeared as well. The demons were all excited as they discussed loudly. Beside the 1,000-year blood sea, the Overlord of Levitating Goat Peak had a terrible expression as he harumphed coldly. Old monkey, to think that a WYRM has appeared in Ape Chatter Ridge. Interesting. If I'm not wrong, that WYRM should be one of the replacements for Ape Chatter Ridge's 10 great territorial lords, right? What rank is he? The Overlord of Silver Moon Valley was composed and asked with a smile. He's not a territorial lord. The old ape had a strange look on his face as he shook his head. Not a territorial lord? The Overlord of Thousand Snake Island chuckled. Brother Yuan, you sure love to joke. If that WYRM isn't a territorial lord, what is he? He is someone's mount. The old ape replied indifferently. The expressions of the Overlords present changed starkly. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.